Not only are we not starting late today, we're actually starting early. Gotta get my crimes in somehow. What's up, everyone? Yo, yo. Hello. What's up? I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. Hello. Back from my incredibly long vacation. Congrats on your Kyle interview. Gonna watch the whole thing later. Yeah, right before leaving, I had a good talk with Kyle Kalinske on Crystal and Kyle, except Crystal wasn't there. So it was just Kyle. Talked with Kyle on Kyle. It was a good time. Had a great time out. Got some nice clothes. Not this stream. Not this stream, folks. We got to stay on task. I don't think I have a full stream's duration because I actually have a lot of stuff that I need to do before business closes over here in Seattle. You know, over here in PT. So I'm gonna try to be efficient tomorrow after all the like getting back errands and errand running and such are taken care of. That's the big day. The big day, you know? Vosh, I got a new job, didn't even realize you were on break. Yeah, the privilege of grass touching, you know? All kinds of things get reshuffled. Big day. How was vacation? It was good. Oh, for those who know, I'll just say no spoilers. I got home last night, and yeah, I had some time, so I played some Baldur's Gate because I'm doing an honor mode playthrough. In Act 3, went to Asterian's big fight, and misjudged a few things and lost. Like, my guys got out of there, but Asterian didn't. So, yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, just sort of fed him, you know? Is it a good game? It is a good game. You can't resurrect him? No, 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 no. If only the thing that had happened to him was dying. Mm. Mm. As long as we talk about how Israel's response to the ICJ ruling was to accelerate the starvation of Gaza. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Always these people monopolizing the news. Genocide in Gaza, dying Palestinians, starving babies. Okay? What about my day? What about my day? The Shabibo rap? Yeah, you guys want me to cover the Ben Shapiro, Macklemore, or whatever the guy is. Right-wing Macklemore rap. See, I can be racist against white people, too. What do you think I'm going to do with that if I can't play the song? You know? This isn't a video essay. I can't cut 4-second bits of it. I guess I could find the lyrics. You know, there's a whole thing going on right now. With Nicki Minaj, too. Sing along to it. I guess that's true. I could just sing the rap, you know? I could just perform it. That is true. Look at how hard they go. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. Listen to that opening verse. They call me offensive, controversial. There's only two genders, boys and girls. Wait, fuck, that doesn't rhyme. That's probably not how that's not the beat, probably. They can't cancel my message because I'm the biggest independent rapper in the whole freaking world. Is that true? Tom McDonald. Is that true? That's probably not true. I don't think that's true. I'm not ashamed because I'm white. Yep, it's a Tom McDonald song. Too scared to cuss with a rapper. He knows who he's rapping with. Yeah, I remember Tom McDonald announced that he was doing this collab with Ben Shapiro on Twitter, and the replies were literally like entirely Tom McDonald fans saying, "Oh wow, you're working with a Jew now." No, I'm not kidding. His like promotional tweet. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Who's ready for a crazy music video? Literally, like the whole disappointing, biggest mask off. Ben Shapiro is a Mossad agent teaming up with Mossad. Everyone has their price. Tom got the call. Oh dear Tom, they got to you too. They finally got to you, I see. It was like all of that. Like the whole thing was like, wow, you're working with a Jew now. So that's pretty on brand. Most of his fans are literal white supremacists. I mean, yeah, with banger beats like claim that I'm racist. Yeah, all right. I'm not ashamed because I'm white. Oh, fuck. I hope that's exactly how he raps it in the song too. Like with that exact flow, you know? Claim that I'm racist. Yeah, all right. I'm not ashamed because I'm white. Like some real like 1990s goofy rap shit, you know? um yeah, I listened to it. That's exactly the flow, Vosh. Okay, good. I'm glad. That's a real white boy rap, which is very fitting, you know, because he's not ashamed that he's white. Uh, where's Ben Shapiro? Ben Shapiro coming in. Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo. My pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a wap. Dog, it's a yarmulke. Homie, no cap. Incredible. Phenomenal stuff. Really. So white? Well, Tom McDonald's fans would disagree. They would say that Ben Shapiro can't be white, actually. Um, yeah, so that happened, and that's great. You know, it quickly reached the top of the charts, or actually the chart, Apple Music, because only boomers use Apple Music. Everyone uses Spotify to listen to their music, or YouTube, I guess. So this consistently happens whenever conservatives or Tom McDonald does anything, which is that they reach the top of Apple, you know, the Apple Music charts, because the only people who use that are the kind of people who would listen to that stuff, you know? Um, anything in that ballpark. Anyway, after it hit #1 on the Apple charts, Nicki Minaj congratulated Ben Shapiro. For those of you who don't know, Nicki Minaj is actually a terrible person. I don't know. I don't follow celebrity. There's a bunch of details. It's like her husband's a rapist, and her brother's a rapist. And is it Megan Thee Stallion that she's beefing with right now? That's the person, right? And Megan Thee Stallion got like shot by some crazy guy, but Nicki Minaj was like, no, actually, you did that to yourself, or maybe it didn't happen at all. I don't know. She's weird and a bad person. Her brother's a pedophile in addition to being a rapist. Ah, okay, gotcha. And then Nicki Minaj came out with a diss track literally this morning. And guys, you know I'm hesitant to give opinions on music because I know I don't know a thing. And I even like a lot of earlier Nicki Minaj music. It's really bad. Please tell me. Yeah, okay. Some people in chat who like listen. It's like actually like it's not only bad like in like a constructed sense. It genuinely feels like a mistake or like it didn't go through the final pass of like editing and sound mixing and stuff because it just sounds ass. I can't play it. I'll get copyright striked instantly. But you know, I'm actually mad at you for putting that shit in my timeline. Yeah. Her husband's also a pedophile. He tried to rape a 16-year-old. Okay, so yeah, Nicki Minaj, not the best taste in anything, I guess. She sounded insane on her live. Well, you know, this is why, and this will tie into something we talk about shortly. This is why wealthy people need to have their money taken away from them. Being rich just makes you fucking crazy, you know? Watch out, the barbs are going to get you. Yeah, it's true that they're insane, but I want it known that I've spent like a solid portion of my adult life thirsting after Nicki Minaj, so I'm cashing in the simp tokens to criticize her awful fucking music right now. You know, it's one thing to be a belligerent lunatic and be a competent artist at the same time, because at least then it comes across as you being a kind of like weirdo auteur. But if you then release incredibly shitty music... No, you shouldn't, WPG Squirrel. They came for Hassan, they'll come for you too. Yeah. Nicki and Cardi B had a fight some time ago. I don't know. I don't follow the celebrity stuff that much. It's just really funny, I guess. I mean, Ben Shapiro put out a diss record. He said his comment sections are filled with woke Karens. The song is #1 on US iTunes. 27 laughing crying emojis. What is really happening and whose is that other man rapping? Is this real life? He said, Nicki, take some notes. Nah, ayo, nah. That's cool. I saw the promotional stuff that Nicki Minaj was doing for her diss track with, like, over the, like a week or two ago. And she was putting out a bunch of really weird, shitty, like, AI art promotional stuff. Like, really bad, too. Like, I think one of the hands had 6 fingers. I mean, like, one of the things that, like, if you're even remotely competent at, AI image generation, you wouldn't you would run it again. Like you would pick up on that. Like very little oversight. You know? I don't know. Just very weird. Very strange. It happened more than once, the 6 fingers thing. Yeah. So Twitter didn't notice then? No, they did. Like so many songs get mass bought on iTunes, so it sits high on the chart. Yeah, it's not really indicative of anything. It's Spotify plays that are the most meaningful. And YouTube. Mm. It has 700K on Spotify. Wait, 700K? Really? That's nothing. Okay. Jesus. Apple Music is different from iTunes, just saying. I don't recognize the difference. I don't respect it. Yes, I remember Nicki Minaj doing weird anti-vax stuff. Could you show or tell us where you got that jacket that you have on in this video? Magan Lens. There you go. Did some shopping in LA. All right. Yeah, my ability to comment on music is pretty limited, I feel. To be fair, for a nobody like Tom McDonald, 700K in 3 days is impressive. First of all, no, it wouldn't. It's not. But second of all, I don't think they were talking about Tom McDonald. Wait, were they talking about Tom McDonald or were they talking about Nicki Minaj? 700K is low for either of them. But I assume they were talking about Nicki Minaj's new diss track. Yeah, I know, Alec Gunter. That's true. Should we just talk about that super quick? Yeah. Guys, did you know I got canceled on Twitter again? I know. It's crazy. Here we go. As is often the case after I've been in a Twitter thread, a bunch of people block me, so I can't see the whole thing in retrospect. But, what'd you do this time? Nothing. I was right. I mean, you'll all agree with me, you know. Leftists need to swallow the hard pill of accepting that men benefit from patriarchy just like white people benefit from white supremacy, and thus there will always be major pushback to any meaningful feminist outlook, whether or not you try to coddle us. And then I responded, I really don't think the average man or white person benefits from patriarchy and white supremacy, and it's extremely counterproductive to say so. They perceive themselves to benefit from it. But the social consequences of these systems of oppression hurt everyone. I don't think white people or men would be in any way harmed if we did away with sexism or racism, and the myth that they would is spread aggressively by demagogues who want to keep those groups anxious of social progress. Like, think about trans people. Cis people, quote-unquote, benefit from not being subjected to the shit trans people are subjected to, but no cis person would be hurt by broadly better treatment of trans people, and many gender nonconforming cis people would probably also get treated better as a consequence. For this, I am trending 1 million views, getting dunked on by quote tweets with like tens of thousands of likes. That's all it takes, folks. one of the people who was really angry at you ended up tacitly agreeing with you. Everyone agrees. If anyone disagrees with this, I genuinely question like their sincerity in being a progressive. The counterpoint to what I said was that it was admitting you agree with like sexists when they say feminism hurts men. Look, if you have two states of being, inequality and equality, my position is that equality is universally liberating. There are really negative social consequences to inequality. Like, you can take a look at this. The evidence of it is pretty clear all about the place. Ask yourself, on average, are men happier in more patriarchal countries than they are in less patriarchal countries? Like, there's obviously a lot of conflating factors here, but do you see a trend where in more sexist societies, men are happier and there's more well-being and blah, blah, blah? What about racism? Are societies that have, on average, a greater degree of sort of racial segregation or bias, does that tend to lead to, like, better, like, well-being in the dominant population? Generally, no, I don't think so. I think that the best way to take a look at this is anytime you get rid of segregation or apartheid, you usually see a general increase in the standard of living. Like, I mean, in America, we had slavery in the South and a lot of racism in the North, but not slavery, you know, technically. And I guess the implication would be that, like, white people must have necessarily been better off in the South than in the North, because of the extractive process of the labor they were taking from black people who were kept as slaves. But that's obviously not true, right? In fact, I think you could make the opposite argument. Not only was that not the case, but also the broader social consequences of slavery, I think, made life worse for white people in the South in two major ways. One, I just on a purely, I guess, like, psychological level, I'm on the master slave dynamic shit with this. In this case, literally, okay? I think it's psychologically harmful for people in a dominant social position to see themselves reflected in the eyes of the people they dominate. I don't think that's good for you. I don't. It makes you paranoid. Seriously, like, think about it. White people literally owned black people in the South, and they still fell asleep every night having feverish nightmares about them being racially cuckolded by their slaves. Like, if anything, the evidence we have is that racism in a population tends to make them extremely anxious. You know, there's like an ennui there. There's like an underlying alienation that causes them great distress, which causes them again then to, like, reify the oppression. I don't think that, like, works out to their benefit. You know, it just doesn't seem to. You can see this in the United States today, because the most racist populations in the United States don't live around other races. They live in racial enclaves. They're like white rural people or whatever. Like, the populations that tend to make most of their decisions based on racial anxiety are the ones who encounter other races the least, and in many cases are quite dispossessed themselves. Another example of how racism hurt white people in the South. White people too. This is, and again, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, everything has to be about white people. Obviously, slavery hurt black people. Fucking idiots. There were a lot of people on Twitter who assumed, like, that's the direction a lot of people on Twitter went. Like, wow, you think white supremacy hurt white people? Well, what about black people? Yeah, no shit. You know, it's if people are determined to hate you, it's Twitter. Like, and if I essay posted, like, what is that going to do? They're not going to read it. They're just going to, like, quote tweet it and go like, wow, 5 million words to say you hate black people. So, like, fuck that. But another example of how this came back around to hurt white people was that, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but back around the time the Civil War break out, the South was a little bit materially underdeveloped. As it turns out, as efficient as slavery is in terms of cost saving, it's not a good way of facilitating, you know, modern, at least modern for the time, economic and industrial development. And that was because the social systems in the sort of like hierarchy and structures and metastructures in the South were so built around maintaining white supremacy that they were unwilling to make the kinds of social and industrial changes that modernizing societies needed to, because those would have pulled away from the fabric of their, you know, of their system. They were more interested in preserving white supremacy than they were in the well-being of the southern states, which is evidenced by the fact that they went to war with the Union. That is how irrational slavery made Southern whites. They thought, damn, we are so irrationally committed to defending slavery that we will secede and war with our larger, more populous, more industrially developed United States. It was not in their material interest, but racism convinced them that it was. Another great example. Why so many times have business owners and politicians been successful in convincing poor white people that the real threat to their paycheck isn't their bosses, but rather Mexicans or Chinese, or Italians or Irish or Mexicans again? How many times has that happened? Again, it is in the material interest of the white working class to adopt economically populist positions. But they're convinced instead, through racism, that the real thing they have to fear is brown people who have even less than they do. I think these are excellent examples of how the average white person is hurt by racism. Now, I say average because, of course, racism is in this case being used as a legitimizing mechanism for a pre-existing hierarchy. And there are people at the top of that hierarchy who benefit enormously from using these systems to keep people on their side, right? But that isn't... First of all, even if that makes them very wealthy, I think you can take a look at like the billionaires of today, and it's pretty clear that having a bunch of money and power doesn't actually make you happy. I know that's kind of like an esoteric take, but there's a reason why people joke about taking the money away from billionaires for their own good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's to their benefit. Like, I think that I think that systems tend to defend systems. Like, the purpose of any system is to reproduce itself. So naturally, no matter what system you arrive at, pharaohs, kings, liberal democracy, fascism, the first priority of that system is to make itself permanent to the best that it can. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better for people, Stable systems are not necessarily ones in which people are well off. A good example of this would be like dictatorships, Dictatorships, if handled well, absent outside threats, are capable of being very stable systems. Not all dictatorships are fascist, after all. Fascism is deliberately irrational. But you can have a rational dictator. Totally possible. Most societies throughout history have effectively been dictatorships, or at least their era's version of one. I mean, monarchy, emperor, whatever. Not much in the way of democracy the further back you go in time, and hell, even today. But like that doesn't necessarily, like the stability doesn't necessarily mean people are happier, right? I really take issue with this because on one hand, people need to understand the difference between being privileged within a system and benefiting from the existence of that system. Men inarguably benefit from their position in a patriarchal system over women. That's a privilege within the system. But that doesn't mean they benefit relative to equality, right? So I don't like saying men benefit from patriarchy, because if the absence of patriarchy would make men better off, which I hope you believe, because otherwise you are literally agreeing with the people saying that feminism hurts men. That is the position you're taking if you disagree with that. Like, unambiguously, if you disagree with what I'm saying here, then when racists say anti-racism means anti-white, you agree with them. And when misogynists say feminism wants to hurt men, you agree with them. And I hope you don't. So, I assume this was like a basic, a basic position. I was arguing about this for like ages. I actually, because I was on, I was traveling, so I had time on my phone. I was dozens and dozens of messages. People hate me for this, I'm not kidding. This is a real thing. Like everyone, I don't want to be one of those guys who just goes through like a collage of tweets disagreeing with me. Some of these people even are otherwise reasonable people. I think a lot of people just bristle at the idea of language which appears to make men the victims of patriarchy in kind of like a self-centered, like, oh, well, what about the men sort of way. But obviously, the argument isn't that they're doing the worst off. the argument is that they would benefit from the removal of these systems. I don't think that racial equality would hurt white people at all. I think there are some niche cases where there really is like a zero-sum game dynamic, and better treatment of minorities would like hurt people who have been monopolizing that power. But here, let me point to a tweet here. Fun fact. The last time I went job hunting in video games, I sent out about 400 resumes, 200 with my name as Olivia, and 200 with my dead name. Identical resume. Nearly half using my dead name got callbacks. I got about 20 interviews from that bout. I got 0 as Olivia. So this person is saying that cis people do benefit from transmisogyny because cis people are more... Oh, no, sorry, this wouldn't be a trans thing. This would be a gender thing, right? Olivia versus their dead name. That men benefit more from patriarchy on account of them being more likely to get a callback. That's certainly true. However, let's run through a couple of examples. First of all, I would argue that there is a broader harm to society through that bias. After all, what we're essentially looking at is a anti-woke diversity, equity, and inclusion program, right? If people are hiring men when women are better candidates for being hired, especially because this person is a trans woman and they are looking for a job in video games, and as I understand it, trans women have the racial stat bonus to video game creation. Not sure how that works, but I've noticed this pattern, you know, many such cases. It seems like this is an irrational selective preference that will actually represent itself in worse products for the consumer. I know that sounds kind of abstract, but think about it. How many amazing commercial or administrative or whatever else opportunities were missed out on because mediocre whites were put in charge rather than competent black people? Right? So I would say that there is a broader social harm to everyone. See, I'm not looking for a job in video games, right? But I play them, and I don't want people only getting jobs because they have male names. So I think that's an example, even there, of how something that seems to exclusively hurt women actually comes back around and hurts everyone. I think that's one example. Second example is, and here's a question for you guys. During the Jim Crow era, black people couldn't get a lot of jobs that white people could get. I know, this is the first time you're hearing this. But following the passing of the Civil Rights Act and, you know, all the changes that followed, black people started to be able to get more jobs that were previously held only by white people. Now, the question is, did this hurt white people? I don't think it did, guys. I don't think it did. I think the reason it didn't is because the availability of jobs isn't this like permanent, unchanging, zero-sum game kind of dynamic. It's a flexible metric in a market that's always changing, you know? The implication of this would be, I feel, that if, you know, lives of men would get worse if women are allowed to work. Is that true? By the way, like, did the life of the average man get worse as a consequence of women being able to work as well? I don't like the implication of this. I guess the implication of this to me that bothers me is the argument from a lot of people seems to be that it is actually in the rational self-interest of men and white people and cis people or whatever else to be bigoted. That the argument from a lot of people on the left seems to be basically like, it might be evil, but white people are correctly acting in their rational self-interest by doing racism, Jim Crow, slavery, whatever else, or that men in, like, I don't know, Iran or Saudi Arabia, like, essentially the argument then would be that men in Iran, the morality police, are acting in their rational self-interest by restricting the rights of women, or likewise in Saudi Arabia. When Saudi Arabian men gave women the right to drive on their own, that was like an irrational decision from the perspective of their well-being. And the problem that I have with this, in addition to the fact that it's fucking wrong, and it's empirically wrong, like it's demonstrably wrong in so many different ways, in so many different points in history, in every country that we ever had any sociological data from, the idea that equality hurts the dominant class, you know, I just don't believe that bullshit. But ultimately, this is the logic of the white nationalist, right? The white nationalist. So most white nationalists are just hateful retards. But if you find a smart one, and you'll have to look for a while, but eventually you might, you will get an explanation for why they believe what they believe. And what they believe is that different ethnicities or races have just innately or otherwise different interests. There are white nationalists who claim to not believe in racial supremacy. They're lying, of course, but let's take that position for granted for a moment, because I think that we can be as charitable as we want and still destroy the argument, you know? Let's say, for example, that a white nationalist does not believe in any innate differences between any races. They argue then that due to cultural differences, of which there are, of course, there are cultural differences all across the world, different racial or ethnic groups will always have different innate interests, sometimes conflicting ones. There are a finite number of resources, land, whatever else. And as a consequence of that, the white nationalist only wants to get on their team's side before the other teams destroy them. See, their argument is that white nationalism isn't like a white specific movement. It's just an acknowledgement of the inherent racial war that's always been going on, and that to ignore it is just to ignore a fact of reality. It's always in the self-interest of a race to defend their race first, right? So, naturally, as a product of that, they're not like taking a political position outside an acknowledgement of reality. That's the position, it seems, that a lot of these Twitter leftists are taking from the other side, right? They're essentially saying, yeah, no, men and white people and what have you, they're hurt by equality. The only difference is, from the perspective of the Twitter leftist that I've been arguing with here, you know, the broad Twitter leftist, the archetype of the Twitter leftist, they're saying that this process is good, actually. They're essentially adopting the logic of the white nationalists, but taken from the other moral perspective, that there is always this innate conflict. It is always, you know, a zero-sum game. They're just fighting over, like, what they consider to be an equitable distribution of that limited power and social prestige. Everyone understand what I'm talking about here? Hmm. There are examples of stuff like this all throughout history, by the way. And you can ask yourself, it's pretty clear, right? Tell me, did the average German benefit from the Holocaust? I mean, that's pretty much the most extreme possible example of ethnic, racial, or national preferentialism, preferentiality. I mean, did their lives improve as a product of this? Did they all like throw their arms up in the air and go like, "Yay, more jobs available for us" or whatever? Like, you know, as a consequence of slavery, every racist white man now has a BBC fetish. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of leftists just really this sounds kind of like trite, but I think a lot of leftists are really, really, really attached to the aesthetic of saying stuff like "fuck men, fuck white people." You know, you've been comfortable for so long. Who gives a shit how you feel now? Which is juvenile and counterproductive. Obviously, like that's, you know, that's not really like theory or being like radical or whatever. It's just being sort of emotional. I don't think that really gets you anywhere. And I think it's deeply counterproductive, by the way, to like suggest that white people are correct if they're acting in their own self-interest to oppose anti-racism. You know, you're probably not doing black people any favors by doing that. I don't think on average women benefit from the broad perception that feminism hurts men. So I don't know why you would promote that, especially since it's not true. I think lefties gave the game away to right-wing talking points. Well, I don't really think it's an adoption of right-wing talking points. I think it's more I think it's more of an aesthetic thing, as always. I've criticized the left for this in the past because it's true. But there's a big difference between saying, believing, and doing things that make the world a better place and looking like you're a person who does that. And because ultimately people's beliefs are really, really governed by their desire to fit in, to be with an in crowd, to impress the people they respect, People have a tendency to like fall into these patterns where over and over and over again they'll repeat bad arguments or bad ideas. Look at the Starbucks boycott thing. This is still like huge, like lefty QAnon. There are still probably millions of left-leaning people in the Western world who think that Starbucks is funding genocide in Israel. And if you disagree, you get like harassed or doxxed or whatever. It's insane. And I don't think that's because all these people are individually like aware and cognizant of the fact that they're lying or whatever. People are just on average really weak. They're weak and emotional. Unlike me, because I'm a man, of course. It's really unfortunate though when stuff like this kind of like backwashes into people's political arguments. It's very counterproductive. Like I've said this before, man, that the left makes itself sort of needlessly repellent to people who might otherwise be sympathetic to its ideals. But can you imagine how it must look to a sort of average onlooker to see a bunch of leftists passionately shaking their head and going, no, 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 you don't understand. White people do benefit from racism. It's like, wait, so the implication of that being what exactly? Don't like it. And bad optics, lol. Well, I mean, it is bad optics to essentially shout that it is in the interest of men to oppose feminism, but, you know. What about that is wrong? What about what is wrong, Linkard? Starbucks boycott is bad? Guys, you don't have to drink at Starbucks if you want. I made this coffee myself. You can do whatever you want. But Starbucks doesn't operate in Israel, and they're not giving money to Israel. All Starbucks did was go after their union for making a pro-Palestine statement. Bad, sure, but a pretty far cry from Starbucks is funding genocide, you know? You can boycott. Wait, did you need this to let you know that Starbucks is an evil company? Haven't we been following their union busting efforts for years? Was this the line? It's just weird that the line would be over something this meaningless because it's like not real. If everyone decided after years and years of union busting that this specific like going after the union for making a pro-Palestinian statement, that would be the line where they boycott. I mean, sure. It's just weird people are pretending that they're funding genocide. Isn't the US using $1 trillion a year because of racism? In my opinion, so this is going to sound like a very like liberal take, but I do genuinely believe in it, okay? The market is not very good at the efficient allocation of resources. It's also better than almost any other system we've seen. One of the reasons the market often fails in the allocation of resources is due to bigotry, right? People don't always make rational, self-interested decisions when it comes to investment, employment, whatever else, because they're bigots. You know, we saw a lot of this back during the civil rights movement, Jim Crow laws. It would have been in the commercial interest of businesses in the Deep South back during the 1950s and 40s to allow black people into their store, to patron them as regular, irregular customers, but they didn't because social bias made it taboo for them to associate with black people. It's economically inefficient. So the elimination of racism would necessarily, at least in this specific instance, reduce the inefficiency in the market, which would mean a better and more robust economy. Certainly, there are plenty of things you can do with an economy that make line go up, but don't make people's lives better. But getting rid of racism, I think, would be one of those nice things that both makes line go up and also makes people's lives better. What would you say to people comparing this to a capitalist class acting in its own interest and it being in their benefit to do so? One thing that you have to understand is that a class of people acting in their material interest is not the same thing as people in a group doing what makes them happy. It is in the material interest of the bourgeoisie to accumulate all the wealth in the world. But accumulating all the wealth in the world doesn't actually make them happy, you see? We're talking about a Marxist system of analysis. We're talking about resource distribution. But if you had a system which incentivized you to hoard endlessly, would being a Scrooge McDuck actually make you a happier person? And if not, is it possible that the material interests of the bourgeoisie do not align perfectly with their human interest? See, this is what economy does. There are economic interests, but that doesn't necessarily mean it actually benefits people, right? There are things that might be to your economic interest that aren't in like that don't benefit you personally. If you want, you could like it is in your economic interest to be on your grind set, you know? Why are you watching a live stream? You could be working, you could be like running Uber, you know, lifts, you know, right? That but would that make you happier? Would that improve your life in any way by missing a Voss stream? Heaven forbid. No, of course not. You need to watch every one of my streams to donate, to subscribe, to donate again. You get it. I am working, lol. And you're on your grind set, and I congratulate you. Yeah. I'm drawing porn. Good. I hope everyone understands what I'm going on about. I just want you guys to know that in spite of how reasonably you're all reacting here, you got to understand people on Twitter were losing their goddamn minds. The average white person absolutely transparently benefits from white supremacy, not as much as they would benefit from communism. So wait, hold on. If they benefit from white supremacy, but they would benefit more from the absence of white supremacy, how do they benefit from white supremacy? How does that make sense? The analogy that I eventually settled on is if that you have a sibling and an abusive father, and the abusive father has a mode of discipline where he beats you a little bit, but beats the shit out of the other one and allows you to beat them too. Do you, as the person, as the child who is beaten less, benefit from that system? Is it in your material self-interest to perpetuate the system as compared to one in which neither of you are beaten at all? Obviously, the answer is, you don't benefit from the system. The system hurts another more than you, but you don't benefit from it. Most of the arguments that I had were semantic. People didn't seem to understand what I meant by benefit versus privileged within, even though I explained it many, many times. But what are you going to do? White people get several benefits from white supremacy: better job prospects, lower sentences, incarceration, greater income. Notice how, again, this individual is talking about privilege over black people. Do you think, then, that the elimination of racism would then mean that white people have lowered income and higher sentences and incarceration? Like, because that's the implication being laid here. It's actually a deeply reactionary argument, because they're essentially saying, no, 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 once we get rid of racism, yeah, white people will finally have lower wages. Is that true? Is that is that I don't is that true? I don't know, man. Nobody ever calls the police on me when I'm in a store. So would white people have police called on them in a store more often if we got rid of racism? You understand, right? It was basically thousands and thousands of comments that are like that. I tried arguing with a few of them, but people just weren't willing to budge. It's very frustrating for me. No, but they would have worse jobs. I don't even really agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that history shows that the acceptance of other racial groups into the broader economy hurts the like pre-exist. Guys, we literally have and have gone over data on immigration in the United States not hurting the incomes or the jobs of domestic workers. Why are you guys adopting a right-wing perspective on this? Like that seems to be the argument here. Like all the lefties in this thread are like, no, it is a zero-sum game, and by elevating other disprivileged groups, we actually have to hurt the privileged groups, But we've gone over immigration data. Immigration doesn't hurt the wages of domestic workers. Why is that? Why does letting in a group of people who are disproportionately poor or maybe less educated? I'm talking all immigrants, by the way. Like, why does that not hurt the wages of the average American? Well, the reason for that is because the economy is complicated, and there are broad overall benefits to increasing the size of the pot. It's not a finite system. You are correct, so it's silly to argue past what you've already laid out. I just wanted to tie it all together so you guys understood the poison of arguing this way. Vosh, if white people are privileged in job prospects, obviously they will be hurt by removing this privilege. And yet, domestic workers are privileged in our economy when it comes to getting new jobs. But the inclusion of immigrants or the inclusion of Irish and Italian people back in the 1930s and 40s, or the inclusion of black people or any other example, doesn't seem to have actually hurt the broader economy for white people. I'm sorry, like you are fully adopting a reactionary perspective. The perspective you're taking is one which implies that there is a zero-sum game that different races have to fight for. It's not true. It's not true. We can all benefit from equality. Suspicious Brownie, I've laid out my terms clearly. I don't think there's any ambiguity. Yeah, there's only one race, the Tour de France. Do you think capitalism benefits the bourgeoisie? No, I don't think so. Karl Marx wrote on this, by the way. He wrote on how even in the olden days, the aristocracy, members of it, were often quite unhappy because they were subjected to stifling social and economic expectations. The life of a noble person back in the 17 or 1800s, it might have been filled with delicious food and drink and, pretty buildings and so on and so forth. But that doesn't get rid of the deep underlying anxiety of the power and expectations that come with a position like that. I think that equality makes everyone's lives better. I guess the real question is, do you think that people like, I don't know, the Ayatollah or Donald Trump or Kim Jong un are happy? Not that they're powerful. We know they're powerful. But are they happy? I would say that for the most part, no. I think that Twitter has made this pretty clear when it comes to the lives of celebrities and wealthy people. They're also not very happy. I don't think that power tends to make people happy. I think it can. I think there are kinds of power that can elevate people's lives immensely, but I think it's sociable power. I think it's power that is built through community. I think community organizers or union leaders, even low-level managers, if they're well liked, I think power like that can make people happy because you feel like you're responsive to the needs of a community. You see them laugh and smile when you tell jokes at your meetings. You want to do right by them. I think that power gets more abstract and less pleasing to people the further up you go. And I think the more democratic a system is, the more potential there is for happiness, you know? To put it another way, I don't think there's much room in the life of somebody like the Ayatollah to look, at the people below him and smile. But if you think of somebody like Bernie Sanders, I think Bernie Sanders is a good example of a person in a very high position of power who's lived his life pretty authentically. And I think that his power is a pretty earnest reflection of the desires and hopes of people beneath him. Not to say he hasn't made mistakes. I'm not defending him, without exception here. But I think that would be an example of somebody who's acted as like a responsible arbiter of power. But yeah, no, I don't think that capitalism improves the lives of the bourgeoisie. I mean, think about it, guys. Why is it that white upper middle class suburban people kill themselves more often than like poor black or Hispanic people, right? I would say suicide is probably a pretty strong indicator of social and emotional dysfunction. I mean, it's an indicator, if nothing else. So, why? What's going on there? The group of people who kills themselves most often, by the way, is old, lonely, or terminally ill white men in their 50s or older. That's the group. But white men in their 50s or older are also the most powerful people in this country. Demographically, that group of people has more power than literally any other. And yet, you understand what I'm getting at here, right? Yes, inequality bad. What you're saying is that white men have it the worst and black people have it the best. Yes. It's a fundamentally anarchist perspective, you know? We are not free until all of us are free. Just to think of the dozens or hundreds of lives of black people kept in slavery that were brutally treated and ended early, all that excess labor being funneled into the wealth of one person. And what did that one white plantation owner get for all that suffering? An anxiety disorder as he tosses and turns every night in his sleep, worrying that one of the black men he owns will fuck his wife and she'll like it more than when he fucks her. I'm not kidding. Like that, I'm not kidding. Much in the same way that American fascism, or I guess fascism broadly, is rooted heavily in sexual insecurity, and in America specifically, a fear of black men's sexual potency, perceived sexual potency. Black men are just people. Like that is it dominates their mind. That is the consequence. All that suffering for absolutely fucking nothing. All right, nice job, team. What are your reparations take? I think it would be very difficult to do reparations based on like individual lineage, but I think that a broad multi-trillion dollar investment program on infrastructure and economic revitalization in areas that have suffered immensely from this would be a good idea. The lineage thing just seems logistically difficult. It's not necessarily a moral issue I have. It's just like can you imagine like 100 million people all doing their 23andMe's to try to like argue with the government over whether or not this technically counts? I don't know. Economics is not a zero sum game, potato brain simp. Who was that person you had to talk about with that? I'm afraid I don't remember his name, but I think he made a very convincing moral argument for person-based reparations that I agree with. I just don't logistically think it's like doable. Morally, however, I think it's you know, I think in a way they should be thought of as two different things. Could you defend your stance against people who claim that DEI hiring hurts the dominant demographic assuming same qualifications? Yeah, it's pretty easy. The problem is that DEI hiring doesn't mean anything. It doesn't like it's literally like what is being referred to. There's like a broad swath of policies that corporations may or may not follow. You realize stuff like DEI is only done so they can jerk themselves off in front of their investors about how woke they are, right? Like how much of this actually materially reflects the world? Like seriously think about it. Like with any understanding of the world that we live in right now and the massive income disparity between black and white people, is there really an epidemic of black people getting high profile jobs they otherwise would not be qualified for? Like, is that actually a real issue? Or are there just some companies that say, yeah, we're hiring diversity, and then everyone looks at that and freaks out, it's very strange. You'd have to go by like a corporation by corporation basis. Whoa, Tempest. True though. Women in the workforce did impact men, though. At some point in the Soviet Union, women were allowed to work, but then men's wages halved, matching the ones for women. I guess that's what happens when you live in a state capitalist country. Yeah, okay, that's just the Soviet Union being dumb. Okay, that's not how the market works. That's not typically how it works. Man, I am wired on the coffee that I just had. I have no idea how much. Like, that was like a double caffeine pack. My goodness. What on earth is this? Somebody just linked this. What am I looking at? Asmongold TV, why Japanese games go woke. What does this mean? What does this mean?
And yeah, this is the one that...
Why would it start playing? Because I hit the goddamn theater mode. Asmongold recently got a bunch of shit on Twitter and probably elsewhere because he said, I think in response to Pow World, the Pow World business, he said, like, who cares what artists think about art that gets produced? Deserved? Oh, very deserved, yeah. I used to think of Asmongold as, like, I always knew he was a conservative, and there's no forgiving that, of course. But he used to come across as pretty reasonable to me. I wonder if that was just, like, an aesthetic thing, you know? Or I wonder if that was just, like, he just presents himself as that kind of person, but in reality he's not. I don't know. Well, I do want to know why Japanese games go woke. By the way, do Japanese games go woke? Because my understanding was that localization teams have to work overtime to censor all of the, like, lolicon 11-year-old, like, pussy mounds that they put in their fucking 3D models or whatever, in their video games, you know?
people keep wanting to show me.
The Japan Times is the biggest and oldest English language newspaper in Japan. And yesterday, the Japan Times website did a story on video game localization. In the article, they spoke to a number of different people in the...
Yeah, I was going to say vagina bones, but then I realized a lot of people might not get the reference.
industry and discuss topics such as how localization has changed over the decades. They talk about the difficulty that used to be encountered when translating Japanese games, and then how things have improved in the modern day.
I think that a lot of Asmongold's previous takes were basic and low stakes takes, like easy shit. Yeah, this is actually one of the things that makes art a really, really, really good way of figuring out a person's politics, because a person who doesn't know that much about politics can still mask their opinions pretty well through a vein of reasonability. But when it comes to art takes, people don't... It takes a lot more knowledge to know how to sort of like cover those up or make them more like inoffensive. I just want to know what this is.
Leading to much higher quality localizations. However, a big focus of the article is on the increasingly common practice of working with Western localization teams during the development process. The article says, with the majority of sales for big games now outside Japan, everything from slang words to characters' costumes must be carefully considered for a global audience. Here are some key quotes from the...
This is normal? That's normal? That's the case with, like, everything. Yeah, like, yeah, it's pretty normal.
Article. Localization is now integral to the design process.
Yeah, to me, I actually wish they wouldn't do this. Like, as I said, like with the Final Fantasy, like the translations, I think some of the, like, kind of awkward, weird translations add to the escapism to a game, but they can also take away from it really easily too, right? I mean, I don't know. Again, like, I always side with, like, just try to make it as close to the original as possible.
International.
No. Absolutely not. Amazing. He said nothing. Yeah, he said nothing. No. Yeah. You want to, like, preserve the spirit of the message, but there's no such thing as a perfect translation between two languages as different as Japanese and English. There are so many, like, cultural and linguistic quirks that are specific to either side of the aisle, or the Pacific in this case. It's not really possible. Man, can you imagine being an anime fan in the West back in the 1990s, where the only way to watch anime is to get, like, ripped tapes that people copied and like sell at local, you know, like niche stores, or you need like fan subs or whatever. Yeah, we're living in, like, a new era of accessibility for the medium, and I think that's great. Yeah, but 2D Siggy, nothing contrary to that was said. Isn't that what he means by as close as possible? Well, in fairness, I don't know what he was saying.
gamers in mind from the start. One key example is how Japanese game developers dress their heroines, as the Me Too movement changes mindsets. Says Frank Genti, senior localization manager at Japanese game giant Bandai Namco. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed,
I already saw this.
or the skirt is a bit too short, he adds. Before, they weren't very flexible, but they've become more proactive on such subjects. Many representations which were normal in Japan in the first Like a Dragon games are no longer acceptable today, says Masayoshi Yokoyama. The series...
Many representations which Like a Dragon games. I don't know. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Wait, is that Yakuza? Oh, that's just Yakuza. Oh, okay. What representations? Like big titties? Old... Wait, Like a Dragon problematic designs? I don't know. I don't know what this refers to exactly. The only thing that I have never seen anything from Yakuza that looked that bad. Maybe like way back when? I have no idea. Petition to keep big boobies in Japanese games. I promise you guys, there are still plenty of big boobies in Japanese games. It's not hard to find them. By the way, again, I'm pro fan service. It's just a lot of fan service is fucking dog shit because it's very obvious the people making it don't give... We talked about this recently with Tomb Raider, but like, if your version of fan service is like Dead or Alive beach volleyball, where a bunch of like identical looking doll-faced women in bikinis are like bouncing around not doing anything interesting, your fan service fucking sucks, bro. Go jerk off to a Macy's catalog, okay? Get the fuck out of my... Get out of here, okay? Bring the real artists in, all right? Bring me some real shit, okay? Get out of here with that weak ass fucking... You know, oftentimes the people who want fan service the most are the people who want the worst fan service, okay? Like, seriously. I talked about this before. My go-to example is fucking Guilty Gear. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about the fan service in Guilty Gear. Nobody's saying it's too woke or whatever. It's actually based in Red Pilled. Everyone likes it. Was that... What's the name? Giovanna? The girl with the giant pants? Is that not large enough? What's the other girl? Which girl? Wait, what about Baiken? These are big, right? By what standards are we judging? I don't know. I just like the Guilty Gear character designs, you know? I like Aino the most. She looks so fucking good. So good. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I don't know. Japan's gone woke or something. Also, can we be real here? I follow a lot of localization drama, and a lot of the localization drama is literally just Westerners covering up pedophilia. That's it, okay? Like, there have been, especially in the past, more so than today, there have been so many games or anime or whatever else where it's just like, yeah, no, here's like a fucking prostitute outfit. She's 13. Like, here you go. Wahai. Yoo-hoo! And I think it's okay for the pressure of international audiences to cause them to not do that. I think that's okay. In my opinion.
And I said the same thing yesterday. Like, I'm not gonna like go and repeat everything because I already went through a lot of this before. But like, I don't think...
Can't you have those cool designs without the big boobs hanging out? No, it's okay for big boobs to hang out. Hey, if you're doing a game with a bunch of like over the top, like cool, sexy action people, or what? Yeah, fuck it, why not? I don't give a shit. Hell yeah, you know. I'll even defend. What was that game? Was it Dragon's Quest? No, not Dragon's Quest. What was the game? What was the game? Dragon's Crown. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. This one. I'll even defend shit like this because it's so over the top that it's funny, you know? Hell yeah. Here's the walk animation from this game, from the Sorceress. Now this is what I call peak art. I don't give a fuck. It's funny. Look at that. That's funny. Hell yeah. Why not? I don't give a shit. Imagine the back pain. Well, she has magic for that. Don't worry. So stupid? Yeah, it's super stupid.
That their read on what's acceptable in American public to the American public, I don't think it's accurate. I think that this is a small group of people that have an extreme opinion who are trying to get into a position of communication power and then trying to change the way in which
he's doing the Gamergate thing. He's doing the like SJWs have infiltrated our media and they're trying to wokely change stuff. He's just jumping right to this. What are we even talking about? Can we even get an example?
Which people communicate completely. And they want to have like a monopoly over the way that that people communicate, and I find this very problematic. I don't think this is good for anybody, and I don't think that these people are actually representing what Western audience.
This is just a stupid low IQ. Like by default, if anything changes, I don't even know what changes that I don't even know what he cares about. I don't know what changes he's referring to, but it's the very standard, like, you know, if anything changes, it's because of an evil cabal of people who are trying to hurt me or whatever. By the way, anime right now, and Japanese media broadly, is more accessible to the West and the world than it ever has been. So doesn't that kind of contradict the argument, right? Like, Jujutsu Kaisen is going off right now. Demon Slayer is going off. One Piece would be going off either way, but it's like super popular at the moment. Games out of Japan are doing crazy well. Like, does it really seem like people are all boycotting the fucking like everyone's, you know, fleeing the market because woke SJWs are ruining everything? Man, the character designs from Dragon's Crown are peak, by the way. Jesus Christ. What were they cooking? Something delicious. Here's a dwarf, by the way. This is what I look like without a shirt, in case you were wondering.
Audiences want. I think they're representing what a small group of freaks on social media want. And I think that everybody else just rolls their eyes at this kind of stuff and thinks that it's weird.
What stuff? What examples? We're only talking about localization. Like like just the process of localization. What stuff are we referring to that's bad here?
They don't like it. They try to prevent the drama, in my opinion. But the drama isn't real. That's the problem. So like whenever somebody gets mad on Twitter, it doesn't matter. Like if there's a thread that goes up on
Asmongold has been promoting AI being used to replace translators of anime. To do this, he's been watching a bunch of Rev Says Desu videos where a woman who had to... Rev Says Desu! Oh, the fucking YouTube pedo lord. Where a woman who had to translate for fucking Dragon Maid talks about how being replaced by AI is bad. This is what Asmongold's arc for the past 2 months has been, I think. Dude, I heard that Asmongold was like a depressed fucking NEET who had like piss jars fucking piling up in his streaming room. I didn't realize it had gotten so bad he was watching Rev Says Desu videos. Holy shit. That's pretty rough.
Twitter, and like people are being negative about a person doing something, that doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't cause people to like play.
His kitchen had so many dishes you couldn't see the sink. Yeesh. I'm turning into Jordan Peterson, okay? You have to clean your room. You have to clean your room, bucko, before you can have opinions in society or something. Yeah, of course I know an Orthodox monkey.
Games more or play games less. If anything, it calls them to play them more, to be honest, because now everybody's talking about them. So, well, colonizing cultures everywhere. Well, you don't want to use that word, right? That's the word that they use. So yeah, they're the ones that would start the fucking drama. Exactly.
What?
Yeah, they're the ones that start the drama. They are the drama makers. So it's like, I think that these are imaginary problems that people don't really have. Like, I'm talking about like real people. Like, I'm not talking about like a social media.
I've said so many times that like reactionary and anxiety is purely based on vibes. What is he fucking talking about? We're literally just talking about the process of making yourself appealing to an international market, something everything has to do if they want an international market. So now, like, woke colonization of, like, they didn't even talk about what localization is. This is why white supremacy doesn't help anyone, yeah? Yeah, exactly. Look at Asmongold. Is he doing well? No, really, though. Racism, sexism, pedophilia are fake problems nobody cares about, apparently. The article hasn't even specified what the local, like, he's just getting up. I don't know if they like cut out the necessary context in this video, but it's like, it's just nothing. Waffling.
Yeah. a group of like 1,000 or a few thousand people on social media that like complaining about something. Like I'm talking about like an actual like consumer audience as a whole. I don't think that they have a problem with these things. And I think that in fact they like them. It's just that simple. They're terminally online. Yeah, they are. And so I think that the entire method of,
as opposed to the not terminally online take that woke SJW colonists are destroying anime by making Japanese companies internationalize their products for an international audience.
Gauging what Western audiences want is being viewed through the lens of a person who, in my opinion, shouldn't be even making decisions in a lot of cases for themselves. They're fucking crazy. I listen to these people talk. I listen to these people communicate. Bro, like, this guy's nuts. This girl's nuts. Like, what the fuck? I don't want this person, like, telling me what I should do. It's crazy.
Executive producer, we ask our teams in the United States and Europe to read the game's script, and they tell us if they see things that won't be acceptable in their country. The job
I don't think that they have a good read on that at all. I don't think that they have any idea.
What?
Nothing... So you're saying that all surveys and market research by corporate firms is wrong?
Wait, let's see how he responds to this. Let's see how he responds to the sudden realization that when multi-billion-dollar companies make decisions on localization, they're not doing it because some Twitter user called, you know, with 16 pronouns in their bio said to, but because they do like market research.
Think that they do surveys or market research on this.
Oh, they don't do it. Nope, never mind. That's his response. All the fucking companies that are doing localization, they just like do it. They're just highly susceptible to Twitter use. They just don't do the research, you know? Holy fuck, he's stupid. You can tell that he hadn't actually thought about that, so he paused for a second to go, well, hold on, there's no way for me to, like, reconcile that question. I don't have a convincing answer to it. So just like, nah, they don't do that. These investors and corporations that just want to make a profit are actually just, like, doing whatever based on vibes, you know? And it's a coincidence that anime is doing so well in the West right now.
I think what they do is they hire firms that have an agenda that use...
Wait, they don't do research, but they hire woke firms? Ah, I see. Man, remember what people have said before? Fascism is the, like, stupid man socialism or something? Just, like, absolutely grasping at a point. Just, like, reaching everywhere for one.
You know, basically surveys and market research that they create that's curated in a way that's beneficial to their goals. And then those people tell them...
they don't do market research. They hire woke Western feminist firms who then do fake research to say, actually, international audiences want more blue-haired SJW characters with septum piercings. And then they put them in the games and everyone hates them and no one buys them. This describes reality.
That this is what it says, but that's actually not what it says. It's viewed through somebody's narrow lens instead of a general lens. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, look at his fucking chat. I had no idea he was this cooked. Look at his chat.
It's viewed through
the DEI.
Somebody's narrow lens instead of a...
It's pure globalist agenda. Look, Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
General lens? Yeah, exactly. And people that they survey are biased? Yeah, I mean, like, that's basically really it. So
all the data that disagrees with me was evilly and secretly conducted by the firm. They don't do any of their own research. They all hire biased firms, and they do biased research, and they find biased people to give biased answers, and that's why people disagree with me. On what are we talking? I have no idea. Why are games and anime doing so well at the moment, despite all this? No idea.
So, like, number one, I think that they're not using surveys and market research to come to a lot of these conclusions. And number two, I think that in the cases that they are, I think that they're inaccurate.
It's as much a cultural challenge as a linguistic one, says Pierre Froget, localization manager at Bandai.
You know, for somebody so anti-woke, Asmongold sure is acting gender fluid right now because he has adopted the reasoning skills of a woman. My God. The data doesn't exist and they don't make decisions based on the data, but if they do have data, it's because the data is biased and not real, and it's all fake and it's done by SJWs. And also, I don't have an explanation for why reality doesn't reflect the unpopularity of the fake data that I say they made with no evidence. And I don't even know what this is about.
Often focus on alcohol, politics, or religion, forget ads, while cultural reference points also differ. When there are people dressed in black boots and big leather coats, in Europe, that could bring to mind a Nazi uniform, he says.
Yeah.
You can find a link
and
to
like, how many people really think that?
How many people really think of a full black leather outfit as being associated with the Nazis? A few, depending on how it is, yeah. Especially considering that Japanese, outfits sometimes, like, for, like, I see in anime sometimes, like, student council presidents will have the armband, you know? Yeah, that's an association over here. Same with, like, the swastika not being, like, a Buddhism thing, but being a swastika thing. Like, yeah, that's a thing, yeah? It's been known to happen? I don't know.
Like, if you were to ask people in Europe, how many people would view this as a Nazi uniform? And this is why I think that, again.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how much anime or video games or whatever Asmongold has watched. What's a recent example? What is it? Well, it's not AI Somnium Files. Joseph Anderson played it. The 13 Sentinels, older Japan fascist guy. Is it this guy? Takatoshi Hijiyama? Is this the guy that I'm thinking of? He had an armband on at one point. Would I be able to find art of that? Nah, probably not. Oh, by the way, 13 Sentinels, another phenomenal example of how fan service is okay. Just, I don't know. Like, there are plenty of examples that I can just kind of, like, vaguely think of the outfits kind of looking like Nazi shit in Japan. I don't know. Umbrella from Skullgirls. Oh, right, that did get censored, yeah. Wait, is it Umbrella? No, it's Parasol, you fucking... You goddamn loser. Didn't she used to have an armband? Maybe they changed that. Ace's original tattoo was a swastika? Oh, yeah. When a new company took over Skullgirls, they changed some stuff about Parasol's backstory, but she was always meant to look like a Nazi femme fatale. She has an old Luger, and the, like, troop she calls on as an attack, or Walther? Is that a Walther? Okay, fuck me and my gun knowledge. She has the fucking Nazi pistol. Walter. That is a Luger? Oh, okay. Well, fuck me for listening to chat ever for any reason. Tokyo Revengers has a swastika in the logo of Japanese. I mean, Ace from One Piece, right? Before the localization, Luffy's brother in One Piece, the logo of the Whitebeard pirates was a Buddhist swastika. They did change this. I don't know. It seems like it seems like a worthwhile thing to clean up a little bit in the localization. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand the confusion. What's this video even about? It's just nonsensical. All conservative politics are nonsensical. Are you okay if games don't use white skulls for China anymore? Well, that's an interesting question. The question you're asking there is, Like, what if localization actually takes away some, like, pretty cool or interesting stuff? So China's aversion to showing skeletons is obviously pretty weird to anyone outside of China, but there are two critical distinctions here. For one, I don't think that any changes being made for a Chinese audience are being done by a cabal of SJWs convincing American companies to like, I don't do any of that bullshit. If I think localization decisions impede the, like, artistic, you know, if they, like, make the product worse, you know, you can just say that. Like, that's a fine take. If Asmongold's perspective was, I think there's a lot of, like, authenticity to all of the weird quirks of Japanese culture specifically, and I like it being sort of undiluted by an international audience perspective. You know, I want to see that weirdness. That's a fine take. It's all this waffling about SJW conspiracies that gets me. You know, you can disagree with the way localization is done. That's fine.
A lot of it actually doesn't have anything to do with
That's his point, but he's just right-wing, so we can't say it. No, his point is that it's being done by a weird cabal of SJWs who are somehow tricking dozens of Japanese companies with fake data or whatever. Like he could literally just say, I don't like these localization changes because I think there's some value to the eccentricities of, like, you know, pure Japanese cultural products. That's fine. That's fine. That's an okay take. You could justify that. That's okay. I think that he started with that take. Well, no, he went pretty much immediately into the SJW culture war stuff.
With any sort of, like, culture thing or anything like that, or sorry, like any sort of, like, a like study. I don't think they're really doing studies where they ask a bunch of Europeans, what do you see whenever you see this person?
He says. You can find a link
Make a
to
poll. Well, the thing is, like, even
what is this? Why do you keep?
Somebody used AI to fix the Dragon Maid.
What's with that?
A Dragon Maid, fucking king of pedophile animes. I'm not watching this shit. Woke translator is finished? I don't care.
And my poll would be biased as well. Like, that's why I think that, like, the only thing that you can really go off of is, like, sales. Because, like sales and general sentiment. Because most of the time that a lot of people say they don't like something, but they keep buying.
He's also disgusting. Isn't he the one who posted a pic of his bed with tooth blood all over the wall? Excuse me, fucking what? What? Okay. His gums bleed at night and he just wipes it on the wall. Dude, why is it always shit like, oh my fucking god. I don't, why, why do they have to make it so easy? Like, why can't it just be he has a bad opinion? Why, it can never just be like, this guy has a bad opinion. It's like, no, he's like the most revolting human on the fucking planet. Like, why does it have to, is he mentally unwell? Yes, definitionally, he has to be. Tooth blood wall? Yes, probably depression. Please don't listen to the political takes of people who live like this. I'm unironically Jordan Petersoning, okay? There's a difference between having a messy bedroom and wiping gum blood on the wall. I am putting my foot down. All right? Holy shit. I don't want to look at that.
And there are also times where people say they like something, but they don't buy it. And that's really the bottom line. Literally, in this case.
Full article in the description. The discussion is reminiscent of Sony's changed stance, as reported by the Wall Street Journal in 2019. The subheading reads, "Move reflects concerns in the US about the depiction of women, but it angers developers in Japan." The report details the Western side of Sony becoming increasingly involved in the approval process for games released for its systems and creating new in-house standards. This has then led to dozens of games being denied a release and forced to make content changes to release on PlayStation.
Like what? I just want a single specific example. Wait, hold on a second. Who's making the YouTube video that he's watching? How Japanese games are being made with global standards in mind. censored gaming. It's called censored gaming. It's not even that big of a channel.
And I find this very problematic.
What changes, though? What changes are being made?
Because I don't think that the people that are making these decisions, I think that they're fucking weird loser freaks. And I don't think that they have any sort of a read.
Why? What changes? What was this all vibes? What changes? What changes? Also, pot kettle, Jesus.
On what the public wants. I think they have an agenda.
And yet sales are up. Sales are up, aren't they? The newest Yakuza game is the 8th most selling game on Steam right now, Lamau. Yeah, like, this is all just vibes. He's like, oh, the only thing that matters is sales, but sales are up!
I think they're weird. I think that their values are completely fucked up.
What?
And I don't think any of this stuff actually matters.
What changes?
So whenever I see...
What changes? This is insane, man. Okay, games that are censored on PlayStation. I just need to know, like, if this is being cited as an example of the kinds of changes. Like, I just want to see what kind of fucking changes we're talking about, you know? I don't know what the full title is. Something that are censored on PlayStation. I don't see anything with this thumbnail, but he... Can anyone find this video for me? This one right here? Wait, it says analytics edit video. So this screenshot must be from Censored Gaming because this is in Censored Gaming's video, right? It's this?
A big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video.
Okay, 26 recent games that are censored in PlayStation.
For a limited and to 1,000 set, we just numerous cases of games as mainly with 6 games. First up is one of the most recent games affected, which is Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. The developers published a blog post in June that explains that a scene had to be changed due to platform regulations on PlayStation, while it remains uncensored on Xbox, Switch, and PC. And this...
Okay, so if this is literally a product of PlayStation's rules, then that isn't woke whatevers, right?
Scene is one of the examples of...
Like, this is PlayStation, not the West. If it's PlayStation, that would be it's not even like a West woke thing or whatever.
Violence being affected, with it involving the blood color being changed from red to black. Next is Amiga Labyrinth Z, the second game in the Amiga
Sony, well, yeah, PlayStation's made by the fucking Japanese.
Labyrinth series. In June 2018, P-Cube announced that the Western release had to be cancelled.
Doki Doki Literature Club is a Western game anyways. So in this case, it's literally woke Japanese company censoring American game. Literally.
Due to Sony rejecting the game. And this is despite the game already being fully localized and ready to go. But that won't be the last time for the franchise. The next game...
Wait, why? Why? It just says that the age rating bodies in the respective territories. Vosh, this game is creepy pedo shit. Is it? Omega Labyrinth Z censored. Is this a game? Banned due to its sexualized content involving girls who appear to be underage. Damn, woke SJWs ruining Western culture yet again. I bet we're going to see a lot of that. By the way, I wonder why censored gaming didn't say why in this YouTube video. Makes you wonder.
The game, and this is despite the game already being fully localized and ready to go. But that won't be the last time for the franchise. The next game in the series, 2019's Amiga Labyrinth Life, had to have many changes to risque content on PlayStation 4, but not on Switch or PC.
So again, it's a PlayStation thing, which is a Sony, which is a Japanese company.
And this time, the Japanese release was also affected due to it being a new release following Sony's content policy changes.
Then it... Okay.
On PlayStation, with it being called simply Labyrinth Life instead. And this also removed the innuendo that the Amiga symbol has in its name. Another game affected is Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, with Xseed announcing in October 2018 that the game had to be delayed due to needing to remove the risque intimacy mode from the PlayStation 4 version of the game. The Steam release, however, kept the intimacy mode in the game, with it launching simultaneously with the PS4 release. Another Senran Kagura game.
Is it? I guarantee you that's also pedo shit. Is it all pedo games? I'm just Senran Kagura Burst Renewal Intimacy Mode Censorship. A Reddit post from r/Kotaku in action. I implore you guys to check out the PC version of Senran Kagura Burst Renewal and not the PS4 version. I love this series. It's one of the biggest guilty pleasures of mine. Here's what I want to highlight most and why intimacy mode is still somewhat key to the game. Each girl can transform to gain new combos and movesets during a fight with their own rage gauge and special screen clearing moves. When they transform, they don a new costume that is rendered in following cutscenes and gameplay. The game boasts tons of outfits and accessories to dress up your character. I'm personally not into it, but there's a ton of effort put into that you can pick your outfit, have your character transform into a... I don't know, man. I think we need more censorship on the Japanese. I think we haven't gone nearly far enough. By the way, just so you know, okay, I googled it, and the first image that popped up was a Push Square article on Sony's censorship of this game, and this is the image that they have accompanying it. Hey, everyone, raise your hands if you want a special extra gameplay mode where a girl who looks like this gets to have extra outfits where her rage gauge fills up. Okay, this girl literally looks like that fucking middle school girl in the anime made for pedophiles that I keep seeing images of that I will never watch. The one that has two metal hair clips? The one that always does a cat face? It literally looks like her. Nagatoro? Yeah, that's probably her name. This girl looks like she's in middle school. I mean, I know that anime has an abstracted art style. Okay, no more. No more. Yep, okay. Alright, nope. Authorize the third bomb, yes or no? Yeah, my main problem with Oppenheimer is that he didn't... He could have made more. If he was a better scientist, there would have been more bombs to use. What you're saying is that if you don't want minors depicted in sexual situations, you'd be a woke SJW monster. Yeah, if you don't like pedophilia, then you are a sort of like an ideological enemy. You're at war with Asmongold's community, actually. The thing is, I don't even know what Asmongold is getting at. He hasn't actually said anything pedophilic. He hasn't said anything like, you know, goddamn America for taking the vagina bones out of this 9-year-old girl in the game that I wanted to play or whatever. He hasn't said anything like that. He's not saying anything. He's not saying anything.
On PlayStation. With this
and I find this very problematic because I don't think that the people that are making these decisions, I think that they're fucking weird loser freaks. And I don't think that they have any sort of a read on what the public wants. I think they have an agenda. I think they're weird. I think that their values are completely fucked up. And I don't think any of...
Yeah, guys, if you don't like Sengan Rentan's rage mode where 12-year-old girls unlock special abilities in various skimpy outfits, like, if you're actually a degenerate if you don't like that, you know?
This stuff actually matters. So whenever I see kinds of things like this happening, I think to myself, I'm like, well, this is fucking, like, I don't, why are we listening to this person? It's not about public information. Sometimes it's the government of the country you release in. I think we're all understanding of the fact that if they have to censor a game because of government regulation, that's understandable. It's disappointing, but it's understandable. I'm not talking—
Wait, what? Wait, that's fine? Wait, companies censoring their games for an international audience is because of woke SJW blah-de-blah, but doing it in compliance with pre-existing state law? What does he even believe? What opinions does he even have? Some people in chat are saying he's Nazi. Guys, he's not a Nazi. He's a retard, okay? And Nazism and their talking points appeal to retards, yes, and I know there's an overlap, but it's not, he's just stupid. He doesn't have any beliefs. Like, Jesus Christ. Fuck, I wish I could talk to him. Probably be a bad idea, though. I don't know if I would actually, like... Dude's lost in the sauce. Several sauces, even.
And I'm talking about things that are outside of government regulation. And people with the criticisms don't even play games. No, they don't. They're not real game players. They're not. They're not even real people, right? They're like social media people that are just.
He's like a decade late. These are all like original Gamergate talking points. This is like, these talking points are out of date. Nowadays, when people make talking points like this, they gesture vaguely at like globalism or Jews or whatever, but he's still doing the like woke SJW thing, you know? This is a decade old. The euphemism has died, you know? It's been retired.
Upset about an issue and are looking for this to kind of be a vehicle to complain about that issue. Like, that's really what it's about.
Affecting Japanese developers. And the Japan Times news story gives insight into how a similar global view is being taken into consideration during the development process, rather than leaving it solely to the localization department to handle. This also means less games with localization changes between Japan and the West, due to things instead being considered and implemented during development for every version of a game.
It's like proactively censored.
What change? What censorship? Is he ever going to describe a single instance that he agrees or disagrees with?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, thank you for watching.
Okay, give me your opinion. So we're never
playing the developer's vision to do all the changes? Yeah, and that's really what the problem is. Like, yeah, I think this is very fair. I mean, obviously this sucks. You imagine if people complain about Dallas cheerleaders being too pretty? No, because that would be insane. Yeah, I could imagine that. I bet people do. But
so wait, his complaint is that woke SJWs are making anime girls less pretty? Is that true? Has the pretty matrix gone down? Have the stonks gone down?
It's just that the reality is that the more that you go and you enable this kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, this guy's got a crazy, like, he's really dedicated.
Bro, I can't deal with it. Fucker's brain is soup. He has no idea what he is talking about at all. He's not saying a single thing. We're 10 minutes into the video and he hasn't made a single prescriptive position. He's not referred to any change he wants to make.
Kid to this, so yeah, I'll give him a sub, give him a like. This is great. And Korea banned Gingivid Fires once because the campaign battle outcome wasn't the one that they declared, which was the one that was reality. Yeah, I mean, that's stupid too. I mean, I don't think anybody's really, you know, like defending something like that. Of course, that's ridiculous. But like, just in a general sense, I think that was the one that was reality. Yeah, I mean, that's stupid too. I mean, I don't think anybody's really, you know, like defending. Like, he's really dedicated to this. So yeah, I'll give him a sub, give him a like. This is great. And Korea banned Gingivid Fires once because the campaign battle outcome wasn't the one that they declared, which was the one that was reality. Yeah.
I don't know what he's referring to. Sorry, I thought I misheard something. That just sounded like sludge. Sorry. I didn't know if I'd like misheard him twice or if he was just waffling more.
I mean, that's stupid too. I mean, I don't think anybody's really, you know, like defending something like that. Of course, that's ridiculous. But like, just in a general sense, I think that the more that this kind of stuff happens, it's bad for
What stuff? Asmund, please, Asmund Gold. What stuff?
It's bad for the artistic vision of any game, because now it's being...
He just said on Twitter, by the way, that he doesn't really care what artists have to say about the products they make. By the way, again, no actual beliefs. To defend the PAL world or AI or whatever the fuck, I don't even remember the topic. He literally just said that he doesn't think artists' opinion matter, only the consumer's opinions.
Censored because of somebody who, again, like, I didn't vote for these people. But the one thing that you can do, and this is
why would you vote for what? Why would you vote for, bro? you unironically vote for your wallet with your wallet. That's how it works. They make a product and you buy it or you don't. Like that's what are you it's a fucking company making a video game. Vote for what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Bro, you literally just said you don't care about censorship if it's being done as a product of actual government rules. That is actual censorship. But so what? What?
I've said, right? I mean, like, me talking about this and complaining about it doesn't do anything. But like, if we stop buying these games because of this, they'll...
What games? What games? Sure, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. But also, what games? Nice pause. Thank you.
They'll get rid of these people. The reason why it's seen to be okay is because sales are either going up or because sales aren't going down.
So, okay. So earlier you say all that matters is whether the consumer enjoys it. All that matters is the sale number. If sale numbers are going up, then how do you know that people don't like it? Where are you getting your belief that people don't like the localization from? Apart from like your own weird like incel anime YouTube video viewing. Like what do you like where are you getting this from? Where?
So they keep making these changes because it's not really affecting anything. Yeah, but they're breaking sales records. Yeah, well, the question really is that, are they breaking sales records as an outcome of this behavior, or are they breaking sales records because the game is good and it is despite this behavior?
Okay, that is a fair point. So this is a correlation causation thing, right? So finally something I can actually respond to, like an actual point, okay? He's pointing out it's possible that the reason the numbers are doing so well right now with localized content isn't actually because of the localization, but rather because just a higher quality of product coming out. Now, I don't think that's a correct point. I think that there's a relationship between the effort being put into localization and the accessibility of these products that increases its popularity, but at least it's something. Like, he could have said stupider shit there. I expected him to say something stupider, but you know.
I would argue that it's probably despite this behavior because all of these games are being very successful. Things like Genshin Impact, for example, that are a little bit different than that.
What about Genshin Impact is different? Okay, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Genshin Impact is very popular. Genshin Impact, for its issues, and by issues I mean pedophilia, it's not like your rage meter is full, 9-year-old, Toko Yomi hit the button, your bikini flies off, whatever, fucking shit, Like, Japan puts out reliably, at least domestically, way sussier shit than what Genshin has made international. Am I correct in my assumption of that? It's also Chinese Lamau. I just want to, what is not being censored in Genshin Impact that he thinks makes it less woke or something? I don't know. Genshin Impact is popular because it's a child's gambling game. Well, of course. Genshin doesn't really have that stuff. My understanding is that Genshin basically just has, like, basically waifu treatment of underage characters, but it doesn't have, like, this is a fighting game between 9-year-old girls. Here's the battle nudity mode or whatever. Like, we're really operating on different tiers of degeneracy, but staring from the, alpine cliffs of not being a fucking pedophile, it all looks pretty fucking bad from over here, I gotta say. Have you seen Asmongold's living situation? Well, it's all chat wants to talk about, so. Let's just finish the damn video.
Because the game is good. It has nothing to do with anything. Yeah, exactly.
A way he would wake up in the morning is he had a dead rat in his room, and when the morning light hit the rat, it started to stink, and that's when he would get up. Thank you. I'm sure. Speaking of stinky... Stinky. What? Hey, don't grab my shirt. Get out of the way. My wheel wants to go there. There we go. Why is she stinky? She smells like mushrooms a little bit. Like dirt, you know? Like russet potatoes.
In actual research, it's all thesis. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that like there's like a certain level of like just kind of common sense knowledge that any normal person would have, which is like, I don't want to have, like just fundamentally, I don't want to have some weirdo at Sony who thinks that they understand American culture.
Oh my, wait, so what is it then? Is it other consultation companies that lie and fake their data, but somehow the products are getting more sales than before, even though they lie and fake their data? Or is it a weirdo at Sony who's arrogantly assuming that Americans don't want to see 9-year-olds naked? What is it? What does he believe? What does he believe? Asmongold, what positions do you have? What do you...
Tell me that I, like, whenever I buy a video game from Japan, you should expect to have Japanese culture in that game because that's what you're buying. So
I think we do typically see that. That's probably true. I think we can get a fair appreciation of Japanese culture with less of the aforementioned 9-year-old rage panty lolly thing, you know? That's probably okay.
Whenever you buy a game from Japan and then you try to put your vision into it or like your morals or ethics into it, you fundamentally change it.
Wait, you want these games to have Japanese culture, but not ethics? Ethical systems are a part of culture. What are you talking about? Also, localization teams are usually local to the countries that are doing the localization. Japanese dudes in Japan aren't doing the American localization. Sony has an America branch of Americans. What do you mean? Don't put ethics in your game? In your Yakuza game? Has anyone here played Yakuza 0? How do you make a game like that without having opinions on ethics? What are you talking about? The whole fucking game is an autistic fucking hardbody walking around, imparting sage life advice to people. It's all ethics. What do you...
You should expect hot anime girls? Yeah, well, I mean, not every time, but a lot of times, yeah.
There are still hot anime girls!
They're accountants in risk management, always trying to lower the risk further, not understanding. I think that you're right about that. Yeah, they just always err on the side of safe, and in doing that so much, they remove the, what's the word for it? They remove the actual value from the product in the first.
Even assuming that was true, that wouldn't be a product of woke test marketers. That would be a product of the very basic way that corporations act. Corporations try to reduce risk to their shareholders. That's their job. That's their fiduciary responsibility in the United States. That's not a woke... Oh, he doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't have any beliefs. Ugh. Why do they always flatten Japanese culture to lolly hentai? Because he doesn't give a fuck about Japanese culture. Look, I'm not even much of a weeb. Like, seriously, I'm pretty down on a lot of anime. Like, I've read probably 8 manga in my entire life. I guarantee you that Asmongold doesn't know shit about Japanese culture broadly. Just because, like, the way he talks about it, like, what does he mean? What the fuck does he mean by Japanese culture that's being missing in what? What Japanese culture is being removed, you know? Like, what's even being talked about? Nothing.
First place. It's not Japanese at that point. Yeah, exactly. Pipeline is simply woke is a safe investment. Safe investment bring ads and more investors. Investors want woke because agenda. I think that mainly you're right.
Investors want woke because agenda. Why would an investor who is investing in a product want woke because of agenda? You know what you want when you invest? Money. You want money when you invest. Unironically, this is why a lot of Gamergaters ended up becoming Nazis, because to believe that SJWs are secretly responsible for all of these social processes, you just eventually work yourself into the JQ. Like, listen to like what's being argued for here. Like, at this point, SJWs are at like every level of the system of production. It's like their company, basically, you know? You'd think the answer to this would be buy another game. But like it's like this holistic control at every level of society, and they're lying and running everything, and anytime data indicates otherwise, that they're lying about that too. It's insane. 100% in lieu of critique of capitalism. Yep. Anti-Semitism is the stupid man's socialism. That's the quote.
Right. That you know, things like that are seen as safe. But I think that as you see more games take risks and succeed, you'll see the focus on being safe become less important over time.
But Japanese games used to be less localized back in the early 2000s and 90s, and those games didn't do very well over in the West because they weren't localized. Like, if you want to find all that creepy, weird anime shit, you can go back to the early aughts and find it. Like, it's there. You know, it's probably easy to get on your computer if you want, like, really, really want it. But it's not selling that well, and it didn't sell that well in the West, because localization is designed to bring a greater audience to it.
And I think that we're already seeing that. And again, this is all determined by the market. So a game that is focused on basically just making things for a market of customers and is successful, that is what people will follow. They're not going to follow something that's woke just because it's woke.
Incredible. Literally like tautology now. A game that is successful will be successful. People won't care about that it's woke. They'll care about it's successful. When successful is being defined that people care about it. Walked in a circle? Yeah.
How is being woke safe? It's being safe because a lot of people on social media aren't going to try to cancel the game. Like, for example, whenever a game comes out...
Any example! Please! Asmongold! Any fucking example! Anything! A single one! A single one, dude! Any example! I'm begging!
And then a lot of people on social media get really mad about the game. You know, people that work at that company don't really know how to parse that out, so they view that as being unsafe.
Yeah, that's literally the definition of an unsafe product. What do you mean? Yeah, no shit. Hey, we released a product that led to a lot of backlash. Maybe we shouldn't do that again. This is literally how it works.
Does that make sense? I think it does. Last of Us 2 is woke and succeeded. The thing is, like, I don't think anybody has a problem with games that are woke.
This man is incredible. I keep thinking that we've, like, dredged out the limits of his lack of a belief. I didn't know it was possible to not believe anything as much as this person. This is genuine, like, soup brain stuff. This isn't just incoherent in the sense that he has two contradicting beliefs or even three. Every one of his beliefs contradicts the other one. Like, there's no... completely... It's insane. Yeah, this is Peronism. He's the median voter. You're right. This is the median voter. That's true. This is who we're up against, folks. I think I'm going to cry. This man is just an empty skull. Yeah, man, he had to have gotten worse in the past few years. I remember I saw some stuff from him back 5 or 6 years ago, and he came across more level-headed than this. I don't know if this is like a Trump thing or whatever. I know he was a Trump supporter. I don't really know. Yeah, I have no idea. But this is insane. He's not a Trump supporter, isn't he? Oh, maybe he's not. I thought I remember that. My bad. No, this seems pretty recent from him. Yeah, okay, I know this sounds like a meme or a bit or whatever. Is this like a brain aneurysm thing? I genuinely worry about someone who has this many contradicting beliefs. Look, the thing is, it's kind of difficult as a live streamer to say this many mutually exclusive things in a row without being jogged out of it by chat. You've got to be even with a chat as dumb as his, you've got to be like there is some kind of stabilizing force, because some people in the chat will push back against it. But every time someone pushed back against what he said, he just adopted another contradictory viewpoint. Isn't it a sign of superior mental agility to be able to move around so fluidly? Oh shit, you're right. Our brains are rigid and stagnant, but his brain can dodge easily, preventing brain damage. You know, it's an evolutionary superiority. Asmongold was a Trump voter back in 2016 and even debated Destiny on it. Okay, so once again, chat was wrong and I was right. Okay, thank you. His mom died? Did that actually happen? Trauma like that can actually, like, fuck up a person's thought processes pretty bad. That did happen? Oh, that's really sad. I mean, obviously, I don't want to make light of something as awful as that. I don't know if that would contribute to his brain being the absolute fucking sludge pit that it is right now. But yeah, that's really sad. Yeah, but it was like 2 years ago. But I haven't seen him in... I haven't seen any content of his in more than 2 years, so I don't know if that's a factor. Yeah. Why do we pretend Asmongold has any idea what he's talking about? We don't. What you been watching me? We don't. I don't know. It's just sad to think about. Wish I could talk to him. The only person who could have the, I guess, clout and brain space to talk to him about this would probably be Destiny. No, Destiny's banned on Twitch, so he can't... Wait, is he unbanned? Is he banned? I don't know. What would be him? I don't know if Destiny gives a shit about this, though. He is banned? Okay. Hassan? Do Hassan and Asmongold have any relationship at all? At all? No? Okay, yeah, then no. Have you messaged him? I don't have a relationship with Asmongold. Ask Mutahar. Mutahar is a smart guy. I don't agree with him on everything, but he is a damn smart guy. I feel like I wouldn't try to, like, impose. He's been going at Asmongold lately. Maybe we'll cover that in the future. That's true, Alec Gunter. I see him react Channel 5 abortion video. He said abortion is the worst thing humans can do. Is he religious? I don't know. It's just stupid. I hate fucking... Chat is full of shit. Asmon was on Hassan's podcast just today. Really? Okay, I don't blame chat for not knowing that, because that's literally super recent. Maybe they didn't have much of a prior relationship. Fear and Loathing. Oh, yeah. I've never seen any Fear and Loathing stuff. Oh, they've got a whole setup and everything. I wonder if I'd ever be able to do any kind of... The main issue is that politically associating with me is generally a poor career move. I don't know. I thought it was called Fear and Malding. I don't know. I didn't look. All right, that's enough. This Tucker interview is insane. You don't say. Pigeon! Who made you squeak? She's squeaking. Meow. She was so needy the other day when I got back from vacation. It was genuinely insane. She jumped up on my desk maybe 30 times or so. I had to set her down every time because she would keep stepping on the keyboard and, you know, doing wacky shit. She even slept, like, under my comforter next to my feet. Under the comforter next to my feet last night. She never does that. I guess she really missed me. Pigeon, I missed you too. She disappeared. Does she still sleep in your head? No, she doesn't sleep in my head anymore. I don't get the Vosh hate, TBH. Surely you have takes I don't agree with, but it seems so disproportionate. It's a cumulative thing. If you already have reason to believe a person is bad, you're more likely to hear and believe negative things about them in the future, and it all kind of scales out of proportion from there. What is this? Crazy Tucker Carlson interview. It's from 2 months ago. This isn't recent. Why'd I just close my feed? Yeah, Soul Flare, we're going to talk about that. Oh. No. I almost got ribbon. Yeah, I saw this. This is pretty cool. I love this. I love it so much, you guys have no idea. Pelosi wants FBI to investigate pro-Palestine protesters for financial ties to Russia. That's it, folks. There you go. For all your hard work advocating for the sane and sensible position of not indiscriminately killing Palestinian civilians, you too get to be held to the same level of scrutiny as, I don't know, the Canadian truckers or whatever else. Thank you, Democrats, for signaling, as always, your willingness and commitment. The audio of her answer is so deranged. Is it?
What you have said, that you think Trump has cognitive disorder.
No, this one.
Over Joe Biden's support
Nice
for
video quality.
Israel in its war against Hamas terrorists. How concerned are you, especially given the fact that we have seen protesters over and over and over at his events? How concerned are you that people...
I, for one, am shocked and astonished to see that being, participating in a genocide has led to, some negative responses, some unpopularity from people who are generally aligned with progressive values.
Young people, Arab Americans, progressives. I'm not suggesting that they're going to go vote for Donald Trump. But how concerned are you that they might just stay home?
Well, let me just say this, because I've been the recipient of their, shall we say, exuberances in this regard as recently as in Seattle on Thursday, unfortunately, wanted to disrupt our very exciting democratic meeting there. They're in front of my house all the time. So I have a feeling for what feelings they have. But we have to think about what we're doing. And what we have to do is try to stop the suffering in Gaza. This is women and children, people who don't have a place to go. So let's address that. But for them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message.
Ah, I see. There we go. Mr. Putin's... see, we want the death to stop. However, actually stopping the death, that's Russia shit. You know, that's Russian interference. That's, you can claim... Listen, all right, we will tolerate thoughts and prayers being directed at the slaughtered Palestinian children. However, if you actually do anything to try to prevent them from being slaughtered, you're essentially a fascist. You're the enemy. You're on the other side.
Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine.
That's it, guys. Yeah, you can't. You see, Putin also wants an end to Israel's genocide of Palestinians. So we have to do it. You know, you don't want to agree with Putin, do you? Come on.
About Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are...
So I know it sounds like she's just being a clown, but what she's doing here is incredibly sinister. She's essentially trying to turn the pro-Ukraine liberals against the pro-Palestinian liberals and leftists. Her goal here is to drive a wedge, essentially to say, like, remember this other conflict? Well, here's where people settle, like, on this side of things, Now, obviously, that's a complete lie, and she knows it's a lie, but it's a cynical effort to do so.
connected to Russia. And I say that having looked at this for a long time now, as you know.
You think some of these protests are Russian plants?
I don't say they're plants. I think some financing should be investigated. And I want to ask the FBI to investigate that. But apart from that, let's just say it's all spontaneous and sincere.
Excuse me?
FBI to investigate that. But apart from that, let's just say it's all spontaneous and sincere.
I want to investigate whether an enemy, like an enemy nation, is funding this. But in lieu of any actual evidence, you know, let's just say it's sincere. What a slimy piece of shit. What a fucking demon.
Let's say it's all spontaneous and sincere. Young people care about the right to choose. They care about LGBTQ issues. They care about preserving the planet. They care about gun violence.
Boss, she's setting up a hypothetical. Yeah, it seems that she is. I didn't get that impression from her tone. I maintain my demon comment.
Prevention, that's what they tell us. They care about our democracy and the freedoms that are contained in some of what I said. So they're going to have to make a decision, staying home to enable or to agonize, organize, not agonize, but organize.
Yeah. You know, to agonize. Wait, no, actually, stop doing that. Just organize. You know, incredible. From nearly saying victim earlier to like, wait, no, don't press back against us. So yeah, the White House, the Dems are in full damage control mode. They know they're cooked. Biden's approval rating among young people is plummeting. I mean, I think I saw recently like 30% or sub 30% approval on a poll. I think I saw that just earlier this morning. For young people, 71% approval. I think you mean 71% disapproval. Yeah, here we go. Biden job approval among ages 18 to 29, which is again the most left-leaning age bracket in the United States. Approved 27%, disapprove 71%. Incredible. The Democrats know they've cooked themselves like big time. And as a consequence of that, they are petrified. But they're not going to stop doing what they're doing in Israel for reasons we've talked about. So, Jesus, look, disapproval of Joe Biden is 60% or higher in every age bracket. This isn't even the least of it, by the way. Biden completely, at least as of now, backed down when Greg Abbott just defied the Supreme Court. Biden was like, whoa, oh, you're gonna just like ignore Supreme Court rulings, whatever. What if I made you happy by working with you to pass some anti-immigration legislation? Like, yeah, it's everything bad that happens in this upcoming election and everything that happens negative from there. And if people die, if a lot of people die, any of that, you can blame that squarely on the Dems. You know, there's a point past which abstemiousness and incompetence has to be malicious. You can't. They're like, Jesus Christ. Like this is supposed to be like a political strategist here. Pelosi's been in government since the fucking Paleolithic era, and this is what we get. Not even the most insulting thing is that it's not even a competent attempt to win back voters who are pushed away from the DNC following their support of genocide in Gaza. You know, there's not even like a good effort going on here. It's insane.
Organized.
Vosh, Russia brought a Hamas leader over to Moscow right after October 7th. Okay. Would you like to elaborate on that? Yeah, so did I.
Most of your constituents want stop the genocide, stop the Holocaust.
Democrats want the ceasefire. The Democrats want the ceasefire. The Democrats want the ceasefire.
Go back to China where your headquarters is. Did you see Fetterman on top of the building? Yeah, I saw Fetterman on top of the building. What? I'm not logged in? I'm logged in. Fuck off.
You're supporting genocide! Fetterman, you can't hide! You're supporting genocide! Fetterman, you can't hide! You're supporting genocide! Fetterman, you can't hide! You're supporting
Did he jump? If only. Did you see Fetterman's wife deactivate her Twitter? She might be leaving him. I mean, maybe, you know, as scandalous as that would be. He has the high ground. Well, if he did jump too with his weight, like it'd be a guaranteed death too, right? Like there'd be no ambiguity with him. Like a guy of his size, like that's a safe bet. Anything more than like 4 feet of a fall. Why are folks like Pelosi and Fetterman so damn determined to die on this hill? You know, the broader strategic reason is wedge against Iran, because Iran has a nuclear weapons program that they're working on and probably will have a nuclear weapon soon. The other main reason is that you got to understand these ancient Democrats are arrogant motherfuckers, you know? They have been like the responsible stewards of American democracy for ages, and they've only gotten more arrogant since Trump. Like, they were plenty arrogant under, when George Bush was in power. But now, you know, with the Cheeto Dorito man being their primary opposition, they have only gotten more complacent, more arrogant in the idea that only they have the brains and the knowledge to rule over the American people. They're all petty tyrants, but they're petty tyrants who believe in institutional power and proceduralism. They're petty tyrants, but they're weak petty tyrants. They're not even like the petty tyrants of the GOP, where they understand how power works and what you need to do to acquire it. Instead, they're bleeding away their power and goodwill with insanely irrational decisions. Look, if Biden loses the election, then everyone donate to me because I told you so. I don't know if he's going to or not. A lot can still happen, but Jesus Christ, man, the Dems are doing everything they can to make sure the Republicans put you in a death camp by next year. Remember what IRI said about Israel-Palestine not mattering? Well, yeah, it's incredibly arrogant. It's arrogance, you know? I think that this is like a specific kind of brain disease that liberals have, because a lot of them are private technocrats, policy wonks, and institutional power holders who think that the key to power is some kind of like mechanical brain that's capable of seeing the path and understanding the systems. And as a consequence of that, you know, they get really fucking arrogant when other people have contrary opinions. To an extent, that elitism is present in all political leaders, including Republicans. But, you know, that I don't know. I've never seen a Trump supporter say something like that. I've never seen a Trump supporter say, like, if Trump did something electorally unpopular, them going like, nah, no one will remember. You know, they don't, because that indicates, I guess, such like a callous disregard for the people, you know? Does that make any sense? Like, you know, very arrogant, like, you know, the peasants won't even remember. Nothing makes sense right now. It all makes sense. I mean, all of this follows, I think, fairly predictable material patterns. It doesn't mean you can see the future, but you can understand how the past led us to where we are now. It's not good. Did I see this? I saw this. Why isn't the squad or someone similar calling out this behavior? Arm twisting, I imagine.
Do you some of your colleagues, and we talked about what's happened at the protests this week, have called the president Genocide Joe. Some of your colleagues have accused the president of supporting genocide, including Rashida Tlaib. Do you agree with that word, genocide, that the president's been supporting a genocide, or does that go too far?
I think what we are seeing right now throughout the country is that young people are appalled at the violence and the indiscriminate loss of life. We are not just seeing 25,000 people that have died in Gaza.
Notice how all of her language is completely neutral. People who have died, loss of life, so on.
We are seeing the starvation of millions of people, the displacement of over 2 million Gazans. We have South Africa that has mounted a court in the ICJ. The ICJ ruled this week that Israel has a grave responsibility to prevent genocide.
But they're still determining whether it's a genocide. Do you think that
they are still
is
determining
given that it's still under investigation?
I believe that they're still determining it, but in the interim ruling, the fact that they said there's a responsibility to prevent it, the fact that this word is even in play, the fact that this word is even in our discourse, I think demonstrates the mass inhumanity that Gazans are facing. And so whether you are an individual that believes this is a genocide, which, by the way, in our polling, we are seeing large amounts of Americans concerned specifically with that word. So I don't think that it is something.
She looks like threatened or something. There is a gun to her head right out of frame there. You notice how her language, she is such a politician. No. Read between the lines, okay? The way she's talking is very careful. She's been talked to a lot behind the scenes. I do think she's doing a relatively good job here, but notice how she's not making any, like, the statements that she is making do not make sense if she doesn't believe there's a genocide. You know, think, okay, imagine what she's saying except framed through, like, the disingenuous lying of an internet Nazi. The interviewer asks, do you think there's a genocide? And AOC goes, no, I don't know. I don't know if there's a genocide. I don't know. But a lot of people, many people are asking questions. Take a look at the polling. Polling says a lot of people are concerned. A lot of people with that word on the tip of their tongue. I don't know. Is there a genocide? I mean, I don't know if there's a genocide. I mean, there's an investigation and a lot of people are bringing it up. Like, that's how she's talking. And the reason she's talking that way is because the sniper with the bead trained in her forehead will fire if she says herself directly that there is a genocide going on.
Thing to completely toss someone out of our public discourse for using. But I think what we are seeing here is that the Netanyahu government has lost public support and that we have a responsibility to protect the human rights and the humanity of Gazans and hostages alike in the area.
Yeah. The arm twisting going on back there is insane. I think that she, maybe not so much her, but probably a lot of her colleagues are worried about getting primaried by AIPAC-backed centrist pro-Israel candidates in the coming election. My guess is that the global right wing, which funnels a lot of money into AIPAC, though AIPAC presents itself as like a neutral, not politically partisan organization, except for, of course, its support of Israel, is going to try to work to primary a lot of good people. I think what a lot of the Dems kind of see happening is Biden loses, therefore we all lose, but also the Democrats that survive through 2024 are like the moderate centrist milquetoast ones. Republicans are less likely to throw into a ditch. So, we'll see. We'll see. No, Purple Sky Star, I don't know what you're talking about. How can we not be doomer in the face of Biden's chance? Do whatever you want. What do you mean? How can we not be? What am I gonna fucking debate you on the you person I don't know? Chat numbers name. Explain to me why I shouldn't. I don't fucking care. Do what you want. Loser. Gay. Fuck. I'm sad. Like a woman. Honestly. Just do your best. Focus on that. What is being doomer going to help you with? Oh, I was worried, but now by embracing being worried, I feel better, Oh, a bad thing might happen, but now that I'm literally defining and labeling myself based on my belief that bad thing will happen, I feel better. Why? Is there any shred of hope to hold on to? I'm not your therapist, dog. Quit. Shred of hope. You know what a shred of hope is? I might be able to finish my honor playthrough in BG3 despite losing Astarion to Cazador, okay? That's my shred of hope. What do you mean? Go eat a taco. Go to therapy. Fuck someone. I'm not you. That's a you thing. It's political analysis time over here. What do you? I'm hoping I can get the fucking the goddamn brain in time. All right. What if I'm a woman and gay? Then hope was lost a long time ago. Did you see Charlie Kirk rant about black pilots? Yes, I did. We'll have to go over it tomorrow, though. Though we still have some time today. What's on the docket here? Let me see. Oh, I saw this. There's another wave of Canadian upsetty spaghetti in my subreddit. Many such cases. Don't even bother. Every non-Canadian in this sub, Vosh included, doesn't care. They don't take the fact that Canada is rapidly being captured by white supremacists and fascists seriously because, lol Lamau, they're America's hat. Vosh hasn't even covered the significant attacks on trans rights in New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, and soon-to-be Alberta. He hasn't covered Poilievre. He hasn't covered Smith. He hasn't covered Higgs. Smug American leftists will be happy to throw us under the bus. This person's a liberal. That's why they talk like this. The moment the PCs win the next election and our already weak social safety nets are dismantled, privatized, and destroyed, they will laugh at our silly flag and maple syrup. Can you stop projecting your insecurities at me? As our right wing implements GOP fascism imported via Harper's IDU. Tucker Carlson and Jordan Peterson met with the premier of Alberta a couple days ago. Not a peep from anyone here. We're just silly old Canada, right? Who cares? Yo, JP is your guy. What do you mean? How the fuck is that? What do you... Not a peep from anyone here? I can't cover all events. What are you talking about? Hold on one second. I can hear the cats battling. Where are you battling? Oh. You back? What are you on about? Alright, she's doing something. Look at this little guy. Your eyes are so goopy. We're taking him in soon for that. In all seriousness, I'd love for you to do more Canadian politics stuff. Yeah, I get a dozen emails every day about this or that. I mean, I want to cover a lot of it, you know? It's just I just kind of tend to cover what the the voices in my head ask me to whenever the stream actually starts. I just think it's kind of funny. It's around the time, I mean, I think it's well past time actually that a lot of these Canadian liberals would have gotten unbanned because a lot of their bans were temporary. Just really mad about me thinking that it's wrong to freeze the bank accounts of the trucker protesters. Nothing gets the Canadian nationalism flowing through my veins like hearing a fucking American talk about our politics. The Supreme Court of Canada agreed with you on that, by the way. I think one of these comments actually said it was wrong of me to... Hold on. In this video, Vosh brings up the Canadian convoy movement and the law's political discussions around it. This is a single judge's opinion. The Public Order Emergency Commission ruled in the opposite. This is going to the Supreme Court. The reason being technicalities on the definitions of how threats are identified. Wasn't that... Hold on. Canada Court ruling Freedom Convoy Bank freezes. Yeah, the federal court. Tuesday's federal court decision. This one. I mean, it seems somewhat significant to me. I don't know. Canadian fragility is embarrassing. Canadian liberals get off on the knowledge that they're better than America. They love that shit so much. That's like the main thing they care about. The belief that Canada is superior to America. Is all the liberal arrogance that comes with it. It's that belief being disrupted in any way. They can't stand being criticized by Americans. Union rights are so behind in Canada. Yeah, because, well, doesn't Trudeau like declare a national emergency anytime a single guy with a fucking with a picket outside of, you know, striking outside of a business? Like the Trudeau shut down a bunch of strikes. Yes, it is, Rubber Gopher. It's a big country. Yeah, it's the same Red Cascadian. Dude, look at how mad these guys are. I survived the liberal purge back when this first happened, but his rant on Canada and the convoy was the only political opinion I've ever heard that made me irrationally fucking furious. Like he didn't get it. I hate Trudeau, but I'd prefer him in Ottawa than the literal hogs in the convoy. This is indicative of so much political brain rot here, that of all the opinions I've had and all the things that I've said, this is the massive rage bait. And the rage bait is, I don't think the government should be able to just freeze bank accounts without like a proper criminal investigation, or just like declaring an emergency unilateral. I don't get what's the hill that you decide to die on. I don't know, man. They just really don't like being criticized, you know? They're arrogant. They don't like the idea of an American telling them how to do freedom properly. Wait, what is this? Taking the ruling of a lower court, reading a transcript from the National Post article, he may as well have been reading a Fox News article about a circuit court decision, thinking that is the final and authoritative call. What? Is a federal court ruling not a big deal in Canada? Isn't that like the equivalent of a circuit court ruling? If it's going to go to the Supreme Court, wouldn't that be like comparable? To be fair, National Post is very, very bad. Yeah, but I just read, like, I wasn't reading alliteration or narrativization. I was just reading, like, the content, what was said in the thing. All the things Vosh wanted the Canadian government to do to quash the truckers, like sending in the military, would have only been permitted under the same Emergencies Act because of jurisdictional restrictions. Fine, sure. I wonder if this is true, though. No trucker died from having their bank accounts temporarily frozen, but some people, likely including innocents, definitely died in the bombing of the Houthi territory. What? I guess I just think the U.S. government being able to bomb anyone without any checks and balances, blocking international trade, is an unreasonable response, while temporarily disabling their bank accounts in a manner that would be reviewed by both Parliament and the courts much more. What? The fucking reach? What comparison is being made here? Oh my god. They said the thing I said, but unironically, yeah. That's not true, Vosh. Canada has sent troops in during the Oka crisis, which didn't involve the Emergencies Act at all. It was also against native protests. Yeah, I don't trust these motherfuckers. We should have frozen the Houthi bank accounts. That's probably true. The truckers weren't launching missiles? Not yet. The only reason they didn't is because Trudeau froze their bank accounts, so they couldn't afford the missiles, you know? All right, guys. I'm very sorry to say things are getting a little bit wacky. 3 U.S. troops killed in drone attack on in Jordan, more than 30 injured. Just now? Yeah, just now. This is the first time anyone has died in the Middle East, you know? It took a little while, but we did finally get there. Yeah, it's more than 30 injured, too. My goodness. U.S. outpost in Jordan, U.S. officials told CNN, marking the first time U.S. troops have been killed by enemy fire in the Middle East since the beginning of the Gaza war. Joe Biden has already pledged that he will respond. It's 40 now. Well, 40 is a larger number than 30, I think. I'd have to get one of those eggheads to, you know, look that over. Let me see if I can... Where specifically? Do they say where the base is? At Tower 22 in Jordan, near the border with Syria. Okay, near the border with Syria, so just... anything in this ballpark, probably here. Maybe here. Who knows? Somewhere in this ballpark. Got bopped. Officials said the drone was fired by Iran-backed militants and appeared to come from Syria. It is still being determined which militia group specifically is responsible, as if it matters. At least 34 injured one-way drone attack. Iran on Sunday denied any involvement in the attack. Of course. Tehran sought to distance itself from the attack, calling accusations of Iranian involvement baseless. Dude, Iran loves the Pepe Post. They love the Pepe Post more than anyone. It's crazy. So World War III gonna happen? No. Tehran's denial came after the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, an umbrella group of a number of Iran-backed militias in the country, said in a statement Sunday it attacked a number of targets along the Jordan-Syria border, including Al-Rukban camp. The camp is in close proximity to the U.S. outpost Tower 22. Okay, maybe them. Oh, there, it says right there. That's nice. Oh, that's all the way up in the corner. Look at that. Unclear why air defenses failed to intercept the drone. Well, you can't get them all the time. Love those borders. Yeah, very rationally laid out. This is also not going to look good for Biden's numbers. He's probably going to get more hawkish to compensate. Jesus Christ. The Biden administration has been criticized primarily by Republicans for not taking strong enough action against the Iran-backed groups for their attacks. In a statement on Sunday following the news of the 3 Americans killed, Senator Lindsey Graham said the Biden's administration policy of deterrence against Iran has failed miserably. The Biden administration can take out all the Iranian proxies they like, but it will not deter Iranian aggression. I am calling on the Biden administration to strike targets of significance inside Iran, not only as reprisal for the killing of our forces, but as deterrence against future aggression. What a fucking psychopath! Not only as revenge for our dead, but also for like other reasons, you know? Oh my God. Biden's approval rating with Republicans is 2%. Why even bother? Hey, listen, okay? Democrats have never turned down a good opportunity to appeal to people who aren't going to vote for them anyway. Senator Roger Wicker, the highest-ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, also called Sunday for a response, quote, directly against Iranian targets and its leadership. And House Armed Services Chairman Mike Rogers said it is, quote, long past time for President Biden to finally hold the terrorist Iranian regime and their extremist proxies accountable. Cool. Here's Tower 22. That's not a tower. It's a whole base. You really think I'm going to read your Reddit post right now, Philomath20? Enemy drone that killed U.S. troops was mistaken for a U.S. drone, preliminary report suggests. That could be a reason. How reliable is, like, anti-drone missile tech anyway? Like, do you let through 1 in 10, 1 in 100? I don't know what the ratio is. Just, sure, it's complicated. Aside from the soldiers killed, the Pentagon said more than 40 troops were wounded in the attacks. 8 were medically evacuated, including 3 who were going to the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. The other 5, who suffered minor brain injuries, immediately returned back to VGG to share their opinions on my takes with me. It's very reliable. They don't usually use missiles. They use radar-guided minigun in a pod called a CIWS. I think I've seen those. Yeah, hold on. I'm curious. Oh, right, these. That's right. This was the thing of the meme. The dorky-looking tower guns. Woo! That'd be zipping. Look at that. No, that's a civilian airliner. Yeah. Please explain what the fuck are these things? Well, they're Gatling guns that have radar. Yes, there is, Benjamin. Shoot! Boy, that looks spooky. It's something like every 8th round is a tracer. Yeah, that way it looks cool. All right, that's a lot of links, guys. Hold on. I wonder what more hawkish behavior in the Middle East would look like at the moment. I don't really know what direction that would take. I would be very surprised if the Biden administration actually does strike targets within Iran, because that would be fucking insane. But then again, it's the Biden administration, and I don't trust them for shit, so who knows? I don't know if this would necessarily influence anything that we're doing down in Yemen right now with Operation Prosperity Guardian. So probably nothing there. we make like pretty reliable drone and missile attacks against a variety of Iran-backed militias in the region. Maybe we scale those up. I doubt we're going to attack Iran itself, though. If we did attack Iran itself, that would be wacky. That'd be pretty gosh darn wacky. As of Friday, there had been more than 158 attacks in U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq and Syria, though officials have described the constant volley of drones, rockets, and missiles as unsuccessful, as they have frequently not caused serious injury or damage to the infrastructure. Nice. Man, I feel like we have to leave the Middle East, man. I don't know. Philomath 20, thanks to you being annoying, I now think it's doubly good. I don't know, Pimp God Caligula. Stuff like this usually takes time. We'll have to see. But oil? We're not getting oil from the Middle... Guys, that's not the nature of our position in the Middle East anymore, okay? We're not like... It's not like we're supplementing our domestic, shortfalls by pumping oil out of the ground in eastern Syria. It's like that's like making the whole empire or whatever. You know, we make a lot of our own oil. We get a lot of it from Saudi Arabia. The reason we have so many people... Look, the only fucking reason we have people down here is because of Iran. You know that, right? That's it. It's just Iran. Without American presence in the Middle East, Iran would control a lot. Given enough time, Iran would probably oversee either a coup in Iraq or they would exert enough cultural and military control over Iraq through their close presence and their militias that they would functionally control Iraq, at least to the extent that they find necessary. Syria would fall, and so would Rojava. Presumably Jordan would, at the very least, influence would increase, you know? The reason we have so much military presence here is because we're trying to prevent... Right now, the Middle East is like Iran and Israel are both doing the like Popeye rolling their sleeves up thing, and they're marching towards each other. And America is trying to keep them from smashing into each other. That's unironically a big part of it. Direct conflict between Israel and Iran would be bad for business because it would influence, stability in the region, Saudi Arabian oil, blah, blah, blah. Israel, because it's run by fucking lunatic psychopaths, wants to control a massive territory 5 times the size of current Israel borders, and probably also fantasizes daily about like nuking all the Arabs in their vicinity. Meanwhile, Iran funds, trains, and provides arms to 5 trillion militia movements spread across the Middle East. So, you know, they're having a great time. Israel gets a lot of support from us because we want them to keep Iran from developing their nuclear weapons program because we don't want to invade Iran directly. It's a whole mess. It's a goddamn mess. Guys, did you know the Middle East is a mess? Has anyone been brave enough to tell you about this before? Syrian democratic forces are now building military towers equipped with surveillance cameras and equipment alongside the front lines with the Assad regime and Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Goal initially as FDF held Deir ez-Zor, then SDF held Raqqa and Manbij. I don't know if Rojava is going to last that much longer, guys. I'm not going to lie. Hold on. Live UA map Syria. Does this give nice, clean control borders? Yeah, close enough. Let's get that key up. Where's the key? Show me the key. Where's the key? Key. Nice. But I'm blocking it for you guys. Yellow is Rojava. Red is government and pro-government forces like Iran-backed militias. Green down here is FSA, moderate rebels, more radical groups like Hayar. Green is the wacky zone. Golan Heights. I don't see any Islamic State territory. Is any of it marked here? Islamic State is black? Yeah, I know. Is this meant to be black? Because this is like a very light gray. Is this black? I thought this was non-aligned. Yes, this is? Oh, okay. Well, it says black, but it's... Alright, well, whatever. Show patterns instead of colors? Yeah, I'm colorblind. Wow, that's not any better. Never mind. No, show colors. No, go back to showing colors. Wait. Fuck. It won't go back. Okay, whatever. Anyway, the moral of the story is that good luck, Rojava. They're not going to be easy to invade. No, they're not going to be easy to invade, but they've got a lot lined up against them. It wouldn't be pitch black or you couldn't see the map behind it, doofus. Then don't choose black as a fucking shade color and also make it a darker gray. Jesus. Look, it's bad over there, okay? Leave it at that. That's only good news if they do it, liquid nitrogen. We won't strike Iran or Hezbollah, but any other Iranian asset in the region could be going down soon. Yeah. But if we could just get rid of them, we would. We can't. We haven't because we can't, you know? Can you talk about that massive men becoming conservative poll? I think I saw that. Can somebody find that tweet? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know if I ever liked or retweeted it. Ah, I found it. Nice. Here we go. I got it. I'm smart. You know, you never know for sure whether or not stuff like this is reliable, but man, a wide ideology gap is opening up between young men and women in countries across the world. Look at South Korea, dude. I knew South Korea had like a pretty aggressive anti-feminist movement going on with their younger population, but Jesus, this is the political ideology of 18 to 29-year-olds. Percent liberal minus percent conservative by sex. I don't know how much this is influenced by stuff like, you know, like radicals. I don't know like whether they count leftists or whatever. I don't know the exact methodology. No matter the methodology, shit like this is pretty noteworthy, you know? Brit Bongers win on this chart. To an extent, yeah. I mean, UK men, that's the closest we're getting, I suppose, to goodness here. Yeah, a lot of this, you know, isn't really that surprising, I don't feel. Like I've said, fascism, and I guess to a large extent reactionary politics, is about masculine sexual anxiety and everything that it does to society. You know, nowadays, a lot of men feel kind of like listless and adrift and lost, and they don't know if they're going to be able to find their way in life or find love. And I sympathize with them for that. But the consequence of this is that a lot of guys are, let's be clear here, completely fucking unlikable, right? Like, a lot of guys are just miserable wretches. They're not like that innately. I don't think they were born that way. I don't think anything forces them to be that way, like in a way that can't be corrected for. But just in terms of spending time with other people, women are better people. That's not because there's anything innately better about being a woman. It's just a lot of guys are miserable wretches, you know, just wretched, wretched people. Angry and bitter and jealous and hateful. And there are women like that too. Don't get me wrong. There certainly are. Just not as many of them. Also, a lot of bitchy women make up for it in other ways. You know, there's like an effort at least at being funny, or there's some kind of passion or interest. But there's some guys are just black holes of nothing. I think a lot of this is a mental illness thing. Like it could be depression or alienation. a feeling that being a man means you have to be kind of like stoic and disaffected and disconnected and all that other crap. In fact, I think that's a huge part of it. You know, guys are taught, you know, it's kind of like emasculating or feminine to be upfront with your emotions, and because of that, they just are naturally closed off and distrustful of others as a default. You know, they just don't share that much. So it's not a huge surprise a lot of them would turn up this way. Go look up the questions they asked on the test. Many of those questions were dog asked. Like some of these were literacy test level questions. Blue Star Shift. I don't know what you're referring to. What does that mean? Literacy test level questions? There's a paywall on the article. Can you find it for me? From this graph? Okay, let me see. I really would like the full article. Hate paywalling that crap. Oh, this is just down the thread, I see. Here's South Korea, where the ideology divide between young men and women is famously wide. Young women have become markedly more progressive on gender norms, but young men have not budged. The result, an emerging social rift. Share who agree with the statement that what women really want is a family and children, although they like to work too, by age and sex. So if you look at older Korean men and women, basically nobody thinks that this statement is true. Wait, what? This statement's kind of confusingly worded. What women really want is a family and children, although they like to work too. I guess that's not like poor, like that's not uninterpretable. It's just kind of odd. And of course, the gender gulf here. Share of people who agree with the statement that women seek to gain power by getting control over men by age and sex. Damn, dude. Look how much younger guys are shifting up on this one, on this particular question. I've told you, remember? I've told you. A huge number of guys, like a significant number of them, are eternally bitter and resentful towards women because they think that women are trying to, like, evilly trick them with their pussies or whatever. All groups of Britons have become much more progressive on race and immigration, except young men, opening up a divide among young adults. This is also a sex thing, by the way. Here's Germany on a similar issue. Young German women have become markedly more progressive on attitudes to immigrants, while young German men are more conservative on this than their elders. This is also a sex thing. In Poland's elections last year, 46% of young men voted for the far-right National Confederation Party, compared to just 16% of young women. There was no such divide among older age groups. Cool. It's always a sex thing. It is always a sex thing. Bitter, lonely men feel that something that they're entitled to, pussy, or a loving family, or whatever else, anything woman-related, has been taken from them either by the nefarious Jew or by, evil globalist, blah, blah, or by SJWs or whatever. This is the underlying root of all reactionary movements, fundamentally. Or yeah, the insidious Tyrone, the fear that immigrants will come in and fuck your women or whatever. I'm telling you guys, this is you can learn more from politics by just briefly looking at like interracial pornography comics. Even like on Twitter, you find one artist who does that stuff. Browse that for 5 minutes and you will learn more about politics than you could from a 4-year poli-sci degree. All of politics is that. There was like a 1-to-1 relationship between being a conservative and being a racist, and being fucking obsessed with the depiction of black men as like 7-foot-tall, hairless, Giga Chad muscle men with 8-foot cocks. Like go to 4chan, go to the GIFs porn board, or find one of the 18 currently active threads on interracial pornography, and then oscillate between the interracial pornography and people being very racist, but in a way that makes it clear they're getting off to it. That's all. That's conservatism. That's it. It's present literally everywhere. They do it everywhere. In Israel, I guarantee you that Zionist fascists down there fall asleep at night, flop sweating at the idea of a Giga Chad Arab alpha male fucking their like Jewish wife or whatever, or in China there are like fascist Han nationalists who are terrified of a fucking Tibetan or Uyghur Muslim Giga Chad alpha male fucking their, like, this is literally all they have. You know, a cursory reading of America's history through like Jim Crow and slavery, where there was so much like lurid, veiled pornography made about the brutish black man and their obsession with white women. Like, there would literally be white citizens council meetings where these like 40 or 50-year-old white men frothing at the lips would talk about how these big brutish animalistic black men wanted to ravage their wives. You know, I hope they all wore loose pants to the function so they didn't embarrass themselves. Like, literally, you go back to the slave days. They would punish slaves by castrating them and killing them because it was like they had to like engage in one final act of violence against the perceived sexual prowess of the black man. I'm so lost. You can't be lost on this. This is the entire right wing. This is the entire right wing. This is it. Literally, look at these texts from Vince McMahon. He literally goes on with his obsession of wanting to see black men fuck this woman he's sexually abusing. He's also a huge Trump supporter. I haven't seen this before. I have a feeling that my point's going to be validated. Yep, it certainly looks like it. Your last picture. You need your panties ripped off and 3 big black dicks in all 3 holes at the same time. Way up your pussy and way up your ass as far as they will go, but even farther. And the thickest cock goes down your throat, so it makes you gag and convulse as those big black cocks pound away. It feels like from the start you're being assaulted, but it's made you come nonstop. Just one continuous, constant orgasm before you pass out and those big black dicks squirt their load of cum inside you. As you lay on your stomach, the cum is coming out your holes. I'll turn you over and jack off all over on you. I don't know who this person is, but this is probably like the median Trump voter, I imagine. So this guy was abusing this chick and also doing all this? Not very good at sexting either, like for several reasons. He owned WWE. This was that Vince? Oh, I didn't remember his name fully. I thought, oh, is that the guy? But I didn't think it was that the guy. That guy? That guy's racist as fuck. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, there you go, yeah. They're all like that, by the way. It's not just Vince. That's every conservative. Every conservative. Pigeon, do you have opinions on this? And if not, why are you on my desk? Why are you on my desk? Is she purring? Usually not when being held. Why is it specifically black cock? Because it's not always like this, but very often reactionary politics are irrational, correct? Like, I have demonstrated that for like 5 years now. I hope we're on board with this consistently. If you look at the root of like sexism or racism or whatever, there's not like some logicked out argument, you know? Usually there's a very strong emotional belief that then supplements arguments that are used to post hoc justify it. Like, people will have this deep fear. So, for example, everyone is like this, by the way, okay? The ability to construct a rational argument that is rational from the start is very tough, and it takes a lot of thought, you know? Like, that's not something most people do, and everyone is subject to emotional bias, right? So a good example of this would be insecurity. All humans feel insecure irrationally at some point. It's a social compensatory mechanism. So at some point in your life, I'm talking to you specifically, viewer, you, not the other people in chat, I'm talking to you. At some point in your life, you got in your mind the idea that someone you liked didn't like you. You didn't really have a rational reason to believe this. You just got a kind of collection of feelings from them that made you feel self-conscious about any perceived imbalance in interest. And as a consequence of that feeling that you arrived at, not a logical conclusion, but a feeling, you started treating them differently. Either you got clingy, or maybe you distanced yourself from them because you wanted to avoid getting hurt, or you felt like you were bothering them by continuing to express interest in spending time with them, so you kind of retreated a little bit. These behaviors, depending on the exact way you did them and the circumstances, these behaviors were irrational. And I bet you that you created a lot of post hoc justifications to explain why you did those things. You had an initial feeling, and after that feeling, that strong feeling that guides your behavior, you think, as humans often do, they rationalize. You think, well, it's not just a feeling. What about this? Or what about that? But the things that you're pointing to as examples of why it's rational to behave the way you do, those are things that would apply to other people too. The what about this you bring up, well, that applies to other friends you have. The what about that you brought up, well, there's nothing wrong with that. You're post hoc rationalizing. You're doing this from the feeling first, you know? Fascism is an emotional bias, fundamentally. There's a lot of stuff that ties into it, and there are many ways it can manifest and take shape. Usually, I think you can imagine the socio-political landscape as having grooves cut into it. So if you have a set of positions, you slide downhill a little bit. And the more positions that are like that position that you hold, and the more strongly you hold them, the more you get pulled into pre-existing grooves cut into, into the landscape of this environment. This is one of the reasons why conspiracy theorists usually gravitate towards anti-Semitism. There are innumerable conspiracy theories, but the more of them you believe and the more strongly you believe them, the more necessary it becomes to believe that there's some kind of single entity or group of people controlling things behind the scenes. And the more you believe that, the more likely you are to stick on to other beliefs in that line, and eventually, just through historical inertia, just because there are already so many belief systems that incorporate this conspiracy, you arrive at anti-Semitism. It's like the event horizon of conspiracy theories. It's like the point of no return. You know, it's the final tipping point. It's the edge of the waterfall. With fascism, the primary underlying feeling is one, I believe, of entitlement and insecurity. Fascism is typically a male phenomena. That doesn't mean that women can't be ideologically fascist. It just means that the predominant force in these movements tends to be male anxiety, and that's replicated pretty consistently in places where fascist movements happen. You know, that's a pretty consistent trend. Now, why? Well, I think the reason for it is because women historically have been subjected to very different expectations and standards to men, you know? Women, I think, have gotten the worst end of the stick when it comes to a lot of historical stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't ways in which men have had a harder time. Mostly, I think, with certain expectations concerning being a breadwinner, you know, being the center of the family, being strong, being independent, warfare. You know, there are things. It's not a perfectly equal playing field when it comes to like who's suffering more or in which directions, right? I think that the way the relationship between men and women has changed has been very painful to a lot of guys who, through a variety of social and cultural mechanisms, have strong feelings of entitlement to a very specific idea of what it means to be a modern man, you know? The brown shirts back in the Weimar Republic, the ones who supported the Nazis, they felt a lot of things. They felt embitterment and humiliation that the poor economy prevented them from providing adequate livings for their families. A lot of young people felt like their futures had been taken away from them. But it wasn't just that. There was also a sense of wounded ethnic and national pride, the idea that Germany had lost World War I because they were betrayed by the inside, by Jews. That was a widely held belief back then. Anti-Semitism wasn't unique back in like 1920s, 1930s Europe. It was pretty much everywhere. It was the industrial extermination of Jews. That was the wacky new addition to that particular formula. So because a lot of it had to do with like national pride and entitlement and betrayal, you had a lot of social upper crust, judges and lawyers and politicians, people who otherwise had quite a bit of money, even with the economic troubles the country was going through. They also, they went along with the fascist line, right? And then if you take a look at the messaging that the Nazis pushed when they started really gaining popularity, what did they talk about? No, like really, I'm asking, what did they talk about? If you go back and look or read historical records or whatever else, they were obsessed with the traditional family. A lot of this was because they had this like prescriptive belief that humans are supposed to have a very specific family structure, that anything which deviates from it is degeneracy, that they will literally kill you for, and under Nazis, a return to that old order could be expected. Now, the old order that they were describing didn't exist. The modern nuclear family, as we understand it, goes back in the United States to the 1950s. The idea of like individual atomized families, not multi-generational households, can be a little bit older than that. I'm sure in Germany it goes back farther than that. But fundamentally, though, it's a pretty modern idea. And that's the dialectic in fascism, the contradiction. It's a relationship between kitsch, I'm paraphrasing Alice Caldwell Kelly here, who hates me, but I like her. Kitsch, conservatism, traditionalism, an appeal to things long past, and an obsession with futurism, modernism, That's why you have fascists who will say, you have Adolf Hitler, a man who will simultaneously dress up in like Bavarian lederhosen and take drip photos of him in high-waisted shorts, and a feathered hat, staring lovingly at the camera. You have the Nazi government, which promoted like German fairy tales as a way of guiding traditional morality, really old-fashioned stuff like that. But you also had an obsession with blood and steel, right? Literally like the Luftwaffe and Blitzkrieg and like new modernization, new machines of war, new ways of inventing society, build everything up. That's the contradiction, okay? But I think that contradiction is a politicized expression of male insecurity. Think about it. Doesn't that almost perfectly encapsulate the mind of the insecure, kind of like uncertain of their masculinity guy, right? This simultaneous contradictory appeal both to this like blood, iron, and lightning futurism, steely, determined, cold, iron, efficient, a machine man, the kind of thing that Andrew Tate wants you to be, right? The kind of thing he pushes for, but also this kitsch, traditional, not modern, frolic in the fields, raise a giant family in the countryside, that kind of thing. You can't have both. There's a pull in both directions. The fascist wants men to believe that they will be both a father to 9 children out in the countryside and some like man of iron who works in a steely and emotionless fashion to bring wealth and prosperity to their nation. Do you see what I'm talking about here? Fascism is that insecurity. It's just projected onto an entire political system. Now, obviously, there's variance here, and different nations, different cultures, different peoples will have different pre-existing conceptions of what that dynamic looks like. But I will say, guys, you can go online. You can test this theory by going online. Take a look at what American, Brazilian, German, Russian, Chinese, and South African fascists talk like. They talk the same. Because ironically, despite being hyper-nationalistic, fascism is an internationalist ideology because it stems from a human commonality. Broken brains. And our brains are all more or less the same, You all understand, don't you? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about, like, the obsession with black cock or whatever. And by the way, that's not something that I'm arriving at, like first principle, argue it out from there. Just go and listen to fascists online. They're obsessed with black cock. I'm not telling you they are. You know they are. I'm just explaining why. Because at the end of the day, it's all a product of insecurity. The reason they don't like immigration isn't because they actually give a shit about being around people who are different to them. Fundamentally, they don't care. They only care about things that ignite the underlying insecurity. And they have a very deeply held insecurity, a fear that people of other ethnicities and cultures will steal their women away. They have been talking about this since before fascism was even a term, before fascism was even a concept in the minds of late 19th century dipshits. White Southern slave owners were petrified of black slaves having. So the fear they said, the fear they claimed they had, was black slaves raping their white wives. But that wasn't the real fear they had. The real fear they had was black slaves consensually having sex with their white wives. And that's the thing they really feared. That is, and you can tell even in the discourse today. You go back to the Brexit movement in the UK, they cannot stop framing the invasion of brown people as a threat to their white women. They're obsessed with it. Everything is about white women, white women, white women. The Germans did the same damn thing. They did the same shit. And you know what? We talked with the radical dino about this. It's not just a white person thing. Radical Dino talked about wealthy incel Chinese fascists also talking about how black people are going to come and fuck their Han Chinese girls. How many black people are in China? It's a country of 1.4 billion people. I guarantee you not many of them are black. But the anxiety doesn't have to be a product of like a real lived circumstance. It only needs to be a product of their own personal psychosis. This is one of the reasons why I've always been really insistent that we should take seriously the insecurities and frustrations of young men. Not because those insecurities and frustrations are always rational, though again, they're young people with insecurities. Obviously, it's not all rational, right? Like, that's always the case, right? Like, right? Obviously. But them being irrational doesn't mean they're not of sociological concern. In the absence of a soothing narrative, politics, coalition building, it's all about narrative building. You know, what can you do for them and how to convince them to come on board? If, as we talked about earlier in this very stream, young men are under the impression that feminism is going to do nothing but rob women from them, going to make them divorce them or be gold diggers or whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's what red pillars want to convince the dipshits who follow them of. They want to be, they want to present the impression that feminism ruins society because it encourages willful behavior from women and it sets them out of line with their biological interest, and as a consequence of that, people generally are made less happy. That's their argument. A convincing counter-argument is needed. And by the way, I think that we're kind of seeing a self-fulfilling prophecy here, because with the numbers looking like this, or not numbers, I guess, with the chart looking like this, does this not look like a dynamic which is going to produce less functional relationships between the men and the women? Look, I'm going to be clear here, okay? In South Korea especially, I don't think this is a situation that should be solved by telling women they need to, like, I don't know, be nicer to guys, because frankly, I'm going to guess a lot of these guys are huge pieces of shit. I'm sorry, look at this line here, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I'm not. Deeply unlikable people, many of them, I'm quite sure. But there is a reason they're moving that direction, and it's not inevitable. It's not some, like, natural force. You know, we can't just shrug when a bunch of millions and millions of men, like, move over to fascism. And we were just like, oh, whatever, like, how could anyone have stopped that? Like, well, no, like, obviously, that didn't just happen on its own. There are forces at play here, ones we can probably influence. I feel like women are less prone to all types of ideological dogma, not just fascism. I disagree. Women say lots of silly shit. I'm just talking about fascism and misogyny here specifically. I don't think there's anything innately different between men and women, really, like fundamentally. I mean, sometimes you got titties, sometimes you don't. There are some brain differences. I don't think they're that big of a deal. Most of it has to do with like hormone washes and the effects those hormones have in your body. And I think for the most part, it just means that women on average tend to be a bit more sentimental and they cry a lot. I don't think it's to my knowledge, most studies on brain differences between men and women indicate that the differences between them are pretty fucking minimal. You know, like every once in a while you get some bullshit about like spatial reasoning, but then it turns out it was just like some edge case thing or whatever. Estrogen and testosterone just don't, you know, your brain is a robust, it's a robust organ. It's very complicated. What about the few gay fascists? Is it the same insecurity for them? Well, to a large extent, yeah. And I think that insecurity can transform as it moves between people, right? So maybe the base underlying insecurity of fascism is that like that contradictory feeling of male entitlement to multiple like desired futures, you know? Sure, to an extent. But then that can easily transfer on over to people outside the dominant ethnic group. There are black fascists, there are female fascists. There are gay fascists. There are people who are all of those things. There are pedophile fascists like Milo Yiannopoulos. Well, that's all of them, actually. It's complicated. Does everyone understand why I was getting at all that? This reminds me of the Muslim rape gang panic over in Europe a few years back. Yep, and I said the same thing back then. I ask you, why are all these people concerned with a Muslim rape gang panic, one which statistically turned out to be nowhere near the issue they made it out to be, obviously? Why were they all so concerned with that when most of the people concerned with it were anti-feminism and anti-Me Too? In every other instance, when it came to anything involving the politics of rape, these guys were chauvinists. They would make fun of women for getting raped. They did not give a shit. They did not promote any policy or activism or awareness towards women's sexual health or autonomy. Functionally, they're politically pro-rape. But then, Muslim rape gangs. Why that? Well, it's pretty obvious, I guess, at the very least, if you agree with everything I've said in the past rambling half hour. Just remember, the rape gang thing is and always was a cover for their real fear. Their real fear was not Muslim rape gangs. Their real fear was Muslims coming over and consensually having sex with white women. The real terror in the mind of the fascist is not that the white woman, you know, they want to see not despoiled gets raped. They don't care that much about rape. They care mostly about keeping them unsoiled from interest in those groups. This is one of the reasons why, if you look at like older neo-Nazi propaganda, like the older shit, Storm Frontier shit, the only people held in higher disregard than Jews and black people are the white women who love them. Seriously, you notice that pretty consistently. Like there will be like scathing portrayals of racial minorities or Jews or whatever, but the white women who love them anyway, ungodly hate, you know? Unbelievable hate. All right, that was a big ramble. Unfortunately, it's past 2. I have to go because I have to get some stuff done before business day ends. So tomorrow I am going to stream, and I'll read donations when I stream tomorrow, and we'll do more stuff. Yes, sorry. I have a lot that I need to get done first. There is a reason basically the first group of Nazis went after were the mixed-race children of colonial French soldiers and German women in the Rhineland. Oh, good point, Sherlock Smug. Yeah. Many such cases. We have plenty more to talk about in the future. Let me see who's currently up. Raid Lucy Hayes. Well, I was going to until you linked it twice and were annoying. Linking it twice, honestly. You know what? Why not? Lucy Hayes recently hit a 1,000 subscriber milestone. I think that's a respectable line to hit. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, I have to remember how to do this. So you have to click channel, share channel, copy channel ID. That's how you do it. Okay, there you go. All right, I'm sending you all over. Be nice, be kind, be good. I love you all very much. You're beautiful people. You'll see me tomorrow for a full-length stream. In the meantime, take care, and I will see you soon. Hopefully this works.
Enough economy that